Hey, welcome to Lenny Schmidts Quarantine Comedy. How you doing? First of all, like the video. First thing, I don't even care. I don't care. Like it nicely. Like the video first. I'll get to it in a minute. You're gonna like it. Trust me. Just like it. It helps us out. Just there's a thumbs up right below me. Hit like, and I'll explain why in a second. Welcome to Lenny Schmidts Quarantine Comedy. It's a show where we talk to performers, specifically live performers, singers, dancers, mostly comedians, musicians. A lot of people that work on a stage, behind a stage, around a stage, near a stage, and now we're all at a stage where there are no stages. So we have nowhere to work. And the show kind of lets you know what those performers are doing now, what they were doing before, what they're doing to get through COVID, what they hope to be doing after COVID, and more importantly, it gives you an opportunity to get in touch with some of these performers and support them while they're not working. Things like buying CDs, going to their websites, catching their shows online, Zoom shows, drive-in shows, what have you, whatever they are, performances, anything they are. It gives you an opportunity to see them and an opportunity to share and like their products with other people and maybe throw some money at them if you enjoy the show or you enjoy their work. We're on here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We stream live on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then later in the week, the show is shared to Facebook, and it's a podcast. So if you're listening to the podcast, thank you very much. If you want to support the show in some way, shape, or form, hit the like button. Just like I said, it goes a long way with YouTube. If you just click like, it doesn't cost you nothing, and that way they see that you like the video. If you like the video a lot, share the video. You can hit share the video. Then it's even more important. You can subscribe to my channel, Lenny Schmidt Comedy Channel. You can subscribe to that. All three of those things help me out, help me put the show up every 3 nights a week for all the performers, and it helps me do it. It helps YouTube see that I'm actually doing something. If you want, because we don't have any sponsors on this show. There's not any sponsors on the show at all. So if you want to have a sponsor, or if you want to sponsor, I'll be honest with you, if you want to sponsor in any way, shape, or form, bam, look, there's a couple options for you right there above my head. You can go to my website, LennySchmidt.com. If you can Venmo at Lenny Schmidt Comedy. You can check those out. Those are kind of cool. Or I'll get to the Patreon thing at the end of the show. We can talk about that just a little bit more. But if you want to go to LennySchmidt.com, if you can, let me show you something cool. We've got a couple of options. Look at that. There it is. That's Lenny Schmidt if you can. That's the website. There's lots of options for you to donate and sponsor money. You can go through PayPal. You can go right there to a couple of options to get like donate some money or support money. Anywhere from $1. I started $1. Look how cool that is. You can pay as little as $1 to see if you enjoy the entertainment. If you enjoyed it at all, anywhere from $1 to like $5 and then 10, whatever, and then $10,000. There's a $10,000 button on there. If you want to use it, feel free to. That's where I draw the line. I don't want to be too greedy. $10,000, I think, is a pretty reasonable place to ask for a sponsorship. So if you feel like sponsoring the show financially, please do so there. I would really appreciate it. It would help us out quite a bit. Like I said, PayPal, little as $1. If you enjoy anything, $1 is not that much. Just throw in $1. Besides that, sit back, enjoy the show, enjoy the content, enjoy today's guest. I'm going to bring him out in a second. Bring our new guest, someone a very good friend of mine, best friends. We go way back. Let's give it up for the. You're going to see him in a second. The one and only our guest today is
Vinnie Hines.
Yeah, there we go. So I muddled my way through that intro. You guys, make sure you enjoy the show. Please do. And get back. And as I said, support the show. At the very least, like the video. Like the video. Hold on one second. Here comes the intro. Now we're going live. This is where it gets weird. Do the best you can. Hang in there. All right, it's me, Lenny Schmidt, live. We're here. What's going on? Hey, that joke only works if I remember to hit the mute button. I got to fix that intro. It doesn't matter. I'm not using that intro next week. Everything's changing next week. 99 episodes as of today. This is episode 99. Monday will be 100. If you're watching on YouTube and you're like, where are all those episodes at? Why are they not up on YouTube? It's because we used to be on Facebook Live. Then we switched to YouTube Live around episode 60, and those previous 60 episodes are on a hard drive here, waiting for me to edit them and put them up on YouTube. So occasionally I throw one out. Last week I threw out Dwayne Kennedy's. It's very funny, very entertaining friend of mine, stand-up comic. But that's a story on the episodes. Thanks for tuning into the show. Thanks for being here. I appreciate all you guys being here. I don't know where else really to go with that. I watched the news. There's not a lot of good news. There's semi-good cruise news out. The new sail order is supposed to be lifted next week on Wednesday. If you're aware of that, that's supposed to change on Wednesday. And we'll see what happens. Right now, who knows what's going to happen? But I know there's a lot of motion and a lot of people talking about ships sailing. So there we go. So hopefully it happens. Hopefully ships are going to sail. Hopefully it's going to happen. I'm looking for a clip. There we go. We'll see. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? As far as the rest of you guys goes, a lot of people here today, man, on a Friday. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Lori, you're here. I was gonna. Oh, you're a Cub fan. No go Cubs on my page right now. Not today. I'm about to win a pizza. Hello, Robin Greenberg. Yes, episode 99. Rachel Zimmerman's here. Robbie Davis. Look at all the usual hitters are here. The Runyons are here, of course. Thank you guys for tuning in. As I said, I don't know the only news story I read. I'm not even gonna repeat this news story. It's the most disgusting story I've ever heard. Where'd it go? It's look, I guess I was gonna not do it. 320,000 used condoms were found in Vietnam, and because there's a used condom reselling ring in Vietnam, which is the grossest thing I've ever heard in my life. They're taking condoms after they're used and rinsing them out and reselling them. Yeah, so there you go. How would you like to have that job? You know, to be the one to rinse them out and roll them back up and put them in a package. I don't even know. How much money are you saving, really, on that? Never mind. I don't even know where to go with that. I don't know what else to say. Who else is here? Gar, you're here, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it, man. Steve Kubin, Chicago Steve is checking in. He will be here on the episode the day after the election, or as I like to call it, the first day of the New World Order. He'll be here, or right when the world ends. Steve is going to be here that day on November 4th, I believe he'll be here. I was just looking at the schedule. So it's in the packaging. You guys are gross. November 3rd. November 3rd. Okay, he's going to be here November 3rd. Well, the election is the 3rd, isn't it? Wait, what's the date? Hold on. I'm looking at the calendar right now. I want to do this. I want to do this correctly. The election is the 3rd, so you will be here the 4th, Steve. That's what I have. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, Steve is here November 4th. The election is the 3rd. I love you too, Gar. Well, people love me. This is very sweet. Okay. Besides that, I don't know. Let's just get right to it, man. It's gonna be. I'm excited. We're gonna mix it up today. I actually have talent on the show tonight. It's kind of cool. It's not just some guy telling dick jokes. This is a guy that actually studies his craft, and he's a musician. I couldn't be happier to have him on the show. In fact, let's take a quick, a little taste of. This is my good friend Vinnie Hines. Let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. Let's try it. Let's give it a shot. Here we go.
I don't think it'll make me feel better, but I guess I'll do it anyway. These things, they don't make me forget 'em, but I have to get me through the day. Walk with me now, I gotta go. I got to keep pushing along till I'm back on my feet. Give me just a little bit of what I need. Beautiful women, music, and whiskey.
Yeah, folks, that's Vinnie Hines. Let's bring him out here live in front of all you people. Please welcome my good friend all the way from Florida, Vinnie Hines. There he is. Yeah.
What's up, y'all? Hey, what's up?
What's up, buddy?
Man, I'm feeling crazy. You know, since we talked to each other right in the beginning of this, right before we started, I've been running to the bathroom getting sick. You wouldn't believe it. I started getting sick out of nowhere. It's crazy.
I saw you get up and run. What happened? Did you eat some bad Cuban food down there in Florida, or is there the show?
Man, I just took whatever my girlfriend shoves at me, whatever pill she says I need at that moment. I just pop it in without thinking, and I think I just took some zinc with beer, and there's some alchemical thing happened, some old Latin voodoo something, man. Anyway, I'm feeling better now. But if I run off again, you're gonna have to just do some time for me.
I'll cover. Well, as I mentioned, I got your whole album here. I can throw up a song if you run away. We'll play one of your songs. That'll be my cue to play your song. Yeah, exactly. Right on.
No doubt.
I always take vitamins with. I always take beer with my vitamins, or my vitamins with beer. I hear
it was a bad move.
Whatever. You look fine. You look good.
I'm typically a cognac guy. I don't know if you know that.
I know you are, but you can't really take vitamins with cognac. That's a lot of cognac. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that may have been a better move. You know who got me turned on to that was Lester Bibbs. He's a comic out there doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, he's always very smooth glass of
cognac. There was one time we were out there New Year's Eve, and I remember each of us had a bottle in hand of Hennessy Black, and we both finished it. And we were up schooling people playing basketball the next morning by 10 a.m. I was so proud of us.
Are you serious? Wow, you guys
he's a beast on the basketball court. Yeah, no doubt.
Get a whole bottle of
Do you miss it? You miss being out there?
Yeah, well, I miss working. Let's start with that. I miss the money. That's kind of cool. There's parts of being on the ship I miss a lot. I'm home with my kids. I told you sometimes I want to get out of here. Like right now is one of those days I need to get out of here, so I wouldn't mind being gone for a week or two. You know what I mean? I'm going on the road next week though, or a week and a half.
So how is that going to work? How are you setting that up? Is that going to be outdoor venues?
No, it's dude, this is Oklahoma City and Wichita. There's no COVID there. Are you aware of that? There's no COVID in those two cities.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know. I know they've been open for a couple of months, and I know some guys that have done the gig already. So I'm more worried about traveling, than anything. So besides that, the shows would be fun. I got my own microphone. I don't know. It's my first venture out during this whole crap. You know what I mean? So I don't know what to expect. It's going to be a
today we got the news. We got the news today that Florida is like 100% open now. Everything can reopen. So I got a feeling.
You got restaurants
I
open.
think people are going to flood down here. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be everything. Strip clubs, comedy clubs, everything can open again from what I understand. But, I usually read the news whenever I got a joint in my mouth, so I don't retain as much as most people would.
No, your news is accurate. Your news is accurate today. I read that today as well.
Yeah.
It was just, I guess we're watching. We're not out here in California. We're starting to get, even though they're talking about the second wave, which isn't really here yet. Right now, there's I guess there's a kick in numbers. Plus, dude, I can't, I don't know what to think anymore. I'll be honest with you, man. They talk about the numbers, and I think they should be focusing more on the hospitalizations. And every time somebody gets it, it's a big deal. But there's like 99.4% of people come out of this okay. I don't know what to think anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know who's telling the truth.
It seems like the collateral damage is just so high now that you gotta get things back to normal and see what happens, because it seems like the collateral damage of just businesses and people. I see some people trying to pretend that they're dealing with this whole situation really well. Yeah. But I feel like you'd have to either be real rich or just a psychopath to be doing well in this new fucking normal. Like, how can you do well in this shit?
I never even thought about the psychopath angle of it, but you're absolutely correct. Well, yeah, the rich are doing great. Like I always say, Amazon's kicking ass. You know what I mean? Those big, the more money you want. Like I'd mentioned this before. Early on, they had these concerts live from home, and it was a bunch of celebrities that would do a show, and they would convince everyone to stay home and tell them it's gonna be okay. But they all did them from like their pool or their third living room, and their, you know what I mean, and their backyard, which had a merry-go-round. And I'm like, maybe you should be in a garage or something. If you're trying to sell stay at home, you're not. This isn't working for everybody because you're not suffering, man. If you got a lot of money, you just lock down in the house and just go, fuck it, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be okay for ever.
Right, and they just need to kind of employ what I used to do when I street performed. I started playing guitar street performing in St. Louis, and I never took my nice guitars out there. I never wore my nice clothes when I was busking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
You got to kind of play the part, gain some sympathy a little bit.
Well, you got to look like you're there for a reason. Yeah, absolutely. You can't be out
Right.
there with wingtips and well ironed shirt, and you know what I mean, with and taking a Venmo. You know, you got to have an
You
open
got to
guitar
stay
case.
hungry.
Yeah,
There's an element of staying hungry and making that visible that's key, you know. And I think right now everybody knows that everybody's hungry, but it's interesting to see who's adapting and who's pivoting and willing to keep trekking. And in a certain way, I feel like this whole lockdown, it is going to be survival of the fittest. People are going to have to either adjust or they're just not going to be in this profession next year. They're going to be doing some other job, you know.
no, there's going to be a weed out, man. You know, a lot of people are weeded out. You know, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm trying to, I'm teetering, I'm surviving, and I know, like, for me, the ship thing is a big deal because I do most of my work on ships. And I think that'll be back next year. But now the question is just, can I ride it out? You know, so I'm just trying to put off getting some sort of regular full-time job. So I'm doing I do Uber Eats. I do whatever I can. I got some streaming money coming in, which has literally saved my ass. I got my second album just started hitting recently. So
awesome.
Yeah. So you're right. It's going to be a matter of who can hang on long enough and survive and be able to come back after this, man. Now you said you did. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, and you know, sometimes I feel like everybody sometimes feels like they're doing it well for a little while, and then you go into a lull or you take some time off. You know what I mean? Like, staying on track right now, it seems damn near impossible. I mean, half the time I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. It seems like pseudo reality almost, like someone just flipped a switch and everything's just a little off kilter now. You know, I can't quite explain it, but it seems a little extra than just what the headlines are saying. There seems to be an overarching theme of, hey, the whole fucking planet's changing in a fundamental way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or humans are changing in a fundamental way. And I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know if that's the chicken or the egg.
Dude, I don't know. I don't want to get too deep because I can go down this rabbit hole forever. But I think the whole World Bank aspect of it has a lot to do with it, man. I think the one currency, one nation, one world. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being paranoid, but I think that they would love for everyone to follow these certain rules. The whole world listen to the small 1% that runs the world that makes the money. And this isn't like we said, the real rich people aren't being hurt here. And if they can redevelop the world to be the way they want it to be, that's how great is that for them? You know what I mean? So,
right.
I mean,
right.
I get a little, I don't know. I've been following that.
I see what you're talking about, though. I see a lot of the clips and a lot of the connections of showing that it could be globalization being the overall aim. But I always wonder, was this put into motion or was this just opportunists being opportunists?
No,
At this point, it doesn't really matter which one is which because it's fucking happening.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
But have you gotten caught up? So with the whole idea of the globalization thing, you know, there's a lot of craziness out there about Hollywood right now. They're coming for everybody, canceling everybody they can.
Right.
And you've worked very closely in that industry. Do you find some of these conspiracy theories to be that far off from what you think could be happening?
Well, it depends.
Or do you just scoff at it?
Yeah, it depends on which one you're talking about. Like all that the Pizzagate and the whole Q that stuff. That's all BS. I can't believe any of that's happening. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem right to me. My daughter was big into that for a while, and they go, I can't believe that's happening. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I guess it depends on whatever conspiracy theory you're really talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of like throwing a dart. You know. I guess just the idea that the central core of American power lies in Hollywood rather than really in DC. Do you feel like you've experienced that sort of power that's just like really that worldwide from Hollywood? Have you seen or heard things?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's so much Hollywood. Like I think it's definitely a liberal thing. You know what I mean? I think people I watch the news constantly, and both sides get so far apart. I don't know which one to listen to and believe anymore. But there's a theory out there that the liberals want to push this mask disease thing as long as they possibly can to get us to the point of the globalization. That's a big benefit for them. And I don't know how true. I don't know how true that is. But then sometimes they say stuff I don't understand. I don't get. One minute, the mask thing confuses me constantly. They're always like, "Wear your mask," and then if you go to a restaurant, you got to wear your mask unless you sit down to eat, and then you're okay. And they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute. How am I not contagious sitting down, but I am standing up?" I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Some of the things they say are confusing. I saw a girl. I was watching a video today. A girl get dragged out of a high school event because she wasn't wearing a mask today. I mean, literally dragged by some sort of official, and I'm like, you know what I mean? It's just sometimes the messages are a little contradicted and left back and forth. I think a lot of it, the Hollywood thing is definitely an anti-Trump thing. Like I used to make a lot of posts on Facebook about politics during an election year. I can't do it anymore. I just can't get in these conversations with people about politics, even face to face. You know what I mean? Like I can have a conversation with a conservative, and if they disagree with me, they can tell me to fuck off, and then we can go have a steak and talk. But if I have a disagreement with a liberal, dude, I'm canceled, and I can't get away from them unless I agree with them 100% and tell them they're right and the right is completely wrong. You know what I mean?
I've gotten sucked down that wormhole too. I was vegan for a while. I got totally brainwashed, and it was really polarizing to where, like, even relationships with my family, because of what I was deciding to eat and kind of this mission I was on, they just that polarization started getting huge. I became very unpleasant to be around because I was so message driven. You know what I mean? And now looking back, I go, half the shit I thought was wrong. And it was just purely wrong. It was ignorance and like being mission based. Not to get too much into the nutrition of all that, but I felt myself getting sucked into that, and I do feel like one of the things I miss about ships so much is that I would unplug my TV and I wouldn't have Wi-Fi. I wouldn't really even mess with social media much while I was out there. Yeah. And I think that was what was so great about it. It forced you into, and I mean, obviously you're going to want to be in human contact out there anyway. There's beautiful, interesting people all the time. But I think that just not having those distractions and not having to see the ugly of the world every damn day, that was really part of the beauty of being out there, you know?
Yeah, it was, because we only got one news channel, and then you didn't want to watch it. It was the same stories every hour, and you're like, all right, I got it. Breaking news, and it was always something that happened 2 days ago. So you stopped watching the channel. But yeah, that's one thing I miss for sure, that detachment. It's like a camping thing for me. I used to love to go camping because we got no signal. And man, I mean, it was the best ever. You could just spend like days of just talking and going to the beach and campfire. And on a ship, to be disconnected, that's pretty cool, man. I really miss that aspect of it. And we were talking a little bit about this before the show. A lot of what I do now is this show on YouTube and Facebook. Half my day is tagging and uploading and sharing and it's a lot of work. It's a job. It's like another job. It's too much. On a ship, you don't have to deal with any of that. There's nothing. You know,
you've got a captive audience and you don't have to do any of the work of promo. And, you know, I definitely took it for granted at certain points in my career out there. You know, I haven't been on a ship in probably 4 years now, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So it's been a hot second, but looking back, man, I only really remember the good times. But you had a different situation where you were on and off, on and off, on and off. I lived on the boat for 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, those contract things. I don't know how you pulled that off, bro. That's I mean, they're leaning now. They're telling us, and we talked to the cruise lines have reached out, and I've talked to a couple of them. But they're asking us, we're going to be on longer. You know, we're going to have to stay longer because there's a 14-day window between ships now, so I can't go from one to the other anymore, which is fine. You know, I mean, I'll do longer, but I'm not doing 6 to 9 months. I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
I don't know many comics doing that. And dude, a lot of the musicians, dude, the guys like you move on and you leave. Like the better musicians don't stick around on ships long if they got to do 6 to 9 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get lost out there. You know, for you as a guy that you just said you just did gigs the last few weeks. You don't get any land-based crowd at all. You'll get followers, but they're only really good to you on social media and when they cruise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or if they're trying to get you to like fuck their wife or something. No, I'm just kidding. No, but no, that would happen all the damn time, dude. I'd get these families that would like adopt me, and then I'd end up playing a private show for way too much money, and then I'm going, hey, wait, hold up a minute, you know. I don't know. I don't know what you thought you bought, but it was 3 hours of music. You know?
Yeah, that's not in the contract. Have you ever buckled? Dude, I've had that offer a handful of times to do my wife offer. Never take it.
I never with them there. Never with them there.
Yeah, we're not a ship. Good call. Good
But
answer,
I
yeah.
used to have a thing for involved women. I just liked knowing that they were risking something. And now I look back and I'm fucking ashamed of it. But that's who I
Well,
was.
you're younger,
you know?
whatever you're gonna. Plus, you're on the road. You're an entertainer. Shit happens. I got that.
Right.
Do my wife offer a few times and never took it. It just never seemed like a good. Just never seemed like a good idea, bro. I got it on a ship a couple of times, and then I got it once at a club in Rochester. No, Rockford, Illinois. And this guy, he wouldn't let it go, and I had to leave the club. I'm like, dude, I gotta get out of here because he just kept bringing it up, and it was uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm not doing your wife, bro.
It's like, come on, show some finesse. I kind of want to do it, but show some class. You know, still woo me a little bit.
Yeah. And take a no. You know, and you should be able to take a no. First of all, that's just not. I don't know if you really talk someone into that. You know, at a bar. I think if you get a strong no, you're not going to convince somebody. Okay. You know, no one's gonna change after an hour. I guess maybe he thought after buying me a couple of drinks I would. I don't know.
Maybe they think that they can woo you into it, but I feel like there's already almost a uniform for the type of guy that would fuck somebody else's wife in front of them. And it's probably like white loafers or alligator shoes. You can tell by their shoes, I'm guessing, if they would fuck your wife or not.
The shoes
I think,
seller?
Yeah, I think that's how you would be able to tell. Does he have laces, first off? If he doesn't have laces on his shoes, then probably, he'd probably fuck your wife.
Yeah.
But definitely exotic leathers, like scaled boots and things like that. Yeah, he'll do it.
That's the guy? Okay. Well, then I don't know why I got hit up. I'm a Chuck Taylor guy. Or I'm Chuck's. You know what I mean? Converse All-Stars. That's what I wore most of the time. I can't imagine that's the guy's going to. Plus, is that the guy you really want doing your wife? The guy in the Chuck All-Stars? I don't think so, right?
They're timeless. They're timeless, man. You could have been a 1950s basketball player. Nobody was tall or fast back then.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. The Chuck Taylors and the really short shorts. That's a good look for me. White legs, not good. Hey, did
you play sports?
I play football, bro. Play football.
Oh, you played football.
Yeah.
Shit. What position?
Else. Line. I was a lot heavier in high school. I was about 100 pounds heavier in high school. So I was around 390. So I played, and I wasn't good.
Holy shit!
I wasn't really good. Or no, 290. I'm sorry, 290. I was 290. But yeah. So I played football, and I was not good. I was not good at all. I used to get nervous.
I didn't have the angry mentality. Yeah, I had anxiety and shit. I didn't know what to call it. Yeah. And my family was religious, so I thought it was fucking demons or something. I thought that was the devil come knocking. I didn't know nobody knew how to talk about it, man. But yeah, I would like today was because of actual zinc pills. I shouldn't have been chugging with beer. But I used to get sick before I'd go and play football, and I used to just think that's what warriors do. That's what the gladiators did before they went out. No, motherfucker, you need a Xanax or a fucking joint, but nobody knew to tell me that.
Right.
Well,
we used to
like my dad was the same way. He was just high strung as hell.
We used to do was your whole family like that, or just and you didn't know how to talk about it? Did your whole family just shove down the anger and the stuff and keep it inside, that whole vibe? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't think so, but considering that whenever once I was an adult and everybody went their separate ways, I go, oh shit, there was a subplot going on here that I wasn't aware of, So I learned that there was a whole thing happening that I was kind of too blind to see. Maybe I was too close to it. But yeah, there was more dysfunction than I knew. But now now I'm probably the craziest one out of all of them. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, but part of that is you're younger, you don't see the neurosis. And then when you get older, you start to see and understand the neurosis. And then for me, like I went to therapy for years, and I really understood the neurosis. And I'm like, oh, I get why we're all nuts. Now it all makes sense.
Right. I feel like I'm learning about that, but there's also this certain I don't know, acceptance of once you can look at it in the face and acknowledge it, like, okay, this is textbook this,
Right.
then you got to make the decision, do I want to kill that part of myself? Do I want to fix that part, or do I want to keep that edge?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like I've already become so damn domesticated now. I have no idea how many clothes I folded in the past fucking 6 months, man. And I used to be out there getting blackout drunk in Mexico 5 nights a week.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
So now I look at some of the stuff I'm doing. I just barely recognize it. It's totally changed.
Yeah, but you see, everybody again. You get older, you change. You don't when you're not on the road much. Last time I saw you was in Chicago. We saw each other in Chicago, right? 'Cause
Yep, I'm still with that same girl too. We've got a beautiful home down here in Melbourne, Florida.
Yeah, you were jazzed when you moved down there, dude. I remember you. You were just. I remember when you were heading down that way. That's good for you, man. You like it down there, huh?
Yeah, I just like, a lot of people talk shit about Florida, but I like the idea that it's just a bunch of people that bought the last house and the last truck and got the last chick they ever plan on having. Everybody's just riding it out with whatever the hell they got. They ain't getting it. You think they're financing anything? Hell no. They're riding it till the wheels fall off. And
Yeah.
there's something almost romantic about dealing with life that way.
Yeah.
You
No, I'm with
like
you.
even and it's almost contagious, and it's contagious in a way that's not like the West Coast. The
Right.
West Coast for me was contagious because it was like, oh my God, am I going to meet somebody that's going to change my career? Am I going to, this business opportunity, this hustle and bustle? Here, nobody's got shit to prove, and they're just chilling and having a good time till they die, and it's refreshing, man. It really is.
That's a great vibe. I wish I was there. I'm serious. I would love to move. All of my friends have moved. Many friends have moved out of the West Coast. 3 just moved to Florida. I have 3 guys that just left here and moved over to Florida. You know what I mean?
I like it, man. It's just kind of one of the last. It almost feels like anarchy out here, man. I mean, whenever there's not an HOA to tell you you can't do your dishes in your front yard, that's pretty close to anarchy. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
your bar. That's what you said. There's no.
But I would say so. It rounds up or down depending on if you're a punk rocker or not. But I don't know. I like it, but I've definitely got to play Margaritaville a lot more than I'd care to.
Yeah,
So
there
it's
you
a
go.
give and take.
That I bet. Yeah, right. No, you just said you were on the road. Didn't you say you had some gigs? Were they local? What'd you do?
Yeah, we're at 100% now, but even before then, pretty much all the outdoor venues, which are all the tiki joints, which are
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere I play, they've been booking again. It's not the same money, it's not the same draw, but I'd say, I mean, I had some amazing shows this past weekend.
That's great.
Probably, I don't know, 120 people, all pretty distanced, but nobody's really wearing masks anymore. We even had this one cat locally, and I almost played at his place, that wouldn't allow you to wear a mask if you came into his place. So you didn't even have the option. He was getting national news for being the biggest asshole out there. I
What did,
almost played this joint too. I'm glad I didn't, just for the sake of bad PR, because he's like trying to polarize the whole thing and just cheap publicity. Those
yeah, yeah,
cats
yeah,
that will
yeah.
just do anything.
He's like,
The
I
type
got it.
of
Let's
people
do
that,
let's do the opposite of everything, and that way we'll get attention.
right.
Somebody will be here eventually.
He's that same guy that's like, charge a nickel for the wings and $12 a beer. They will never see it coming. They just like start people like that, man. You,
Yeah,
you
that
can't
guy.
help them. Just have a decent product and you'll be all right.
Right on. That's good, man.
So
That's
as
good.
as this whole pivot's been happening, and everybody's been having to adjust, is there anybody out there that you're seeing that's like really inspiring, that's kind of taking the stage in a new way? As far as like this digital pivot since lockdown, as far as in your career.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I've always followed him before, but I've gotten more into Joe Rogan during this lockdown than I ever have. Like, and not just that, because here's another thing: when you're on ships, you don't have, not only do you not have to check your messages and go online all the time, you don't have access to a lot of stuff. So I never got into podcasts. I never downloaded a lot of podcasts. Never did any of that crap. And what I do is, like, I'll work and one monitor I'll have YouTube videos playing. And I started playing some Rogan stuff. There are a couple, and I always watch Rogan. He has cool guests. He has a lot of guests out I don't watch many comics, man. He has like Graham Hancock on there, guys that talk about,
Love Graham Hancock.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's turned me on to so many really brilliant people. Brett Weinstein, and all these guys. So I've really gotten into Rogan, and then because of that, I follow Rogan more. And then I'm really more into his beliefs. He just left here, went to Texas. You know, he's like he's a social liberal, but a conservative financial. You know, I mean, he's got some good views. So I'm really more into him. And I think, but he was ahead of the curve on the podcast thing years ago. You know, he's up to 1,600. He's the one guy, and I don't know if he's a good example because he was around before. Because everyone after, I don't see anybody doing anything new since COVID started that makes me go, oh wow, that's a smart move. You know what I mean?
There's a cat named Andrew Schultz, I think, that came up. He started doing almost like a Daily Show style monologue, like a 5-minute monologue, like almost weekly.
Yeah.
His stuff. He released a crowd work special that is just like artwork.
Yeah.
Like you should check him out. But I agree, Rogan is epic. And I'm worried to see what censorship and what impact this new deal of his does, because he says it was just licensing.
Yeah.
But there's also whispers that deal was closer to 150 million than 100 million. Like he even said, you guys don't really know how much money I got for this.
Yeah, he got more than that was leaked. Well, they're going through a whole backlash there now over the employees at Spotify that want some of that stuff. And he has people on there that are controversial. Alex Jones, who's the other cat I watch a lot that everybody hates? The
Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro, I watch him a lot too. I watch everybody on extreme on both sides. I'm a big believer in hearing all the voices, man. You know, and hearing everybody, hearing everybody's point of view. And then if I agree with you, great. If I don't, whatever. But we've reached a point where people shut people out and they go, well, I'm not going to listen to that guy's point of view. And I'm going, well, maybe you should, because it might open your eyes more, or at the very least, you'll be able to understand how to talk to someone with that belief more. You know what I'm saying? So he has these controversial people on there all the time. So anyway, I have a tangent again. Spotify employees are threatening to walk out over this not censoring the Alex Jones podcast and some of those other ones, the Shapiro ones.
I say fuck them. Let them walk out.
It seems
there's a lot of people that need jobs right now.
That's what the article said. The article was like, dude, you know what? These people might want to be careful because those are good paying jobs too. They pay, most of those people are making 6 digits. And you can't tell me you can't find people out there that aren't working that would take that job, because you will. So they're going to walk away and go, well, we're not going to do this. And then you're going to turn around. And this is the worst time to play that card, by the way. The whole, you know what I mean? The whole, I'm leaving if you don't do something. Then, all right, well, then go ahead and go. Because there's like 40,000 people outside that are out of work right now. And I can get half of them to take this job.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to be cold in the entertainment industry right now. But, man, what people don't understand is it's always been cold. This whole industry has always been mob tactics, mafia tactics. I read a book right before I started like my career and started trying to get on these shows and stuff like that, called Hitmen. And it literally outlined the mafia and mob, payola, bribery, murder that they used to get their music onto the radio stations, because DJs had a lot of pull back in the day. Individual cats really influenced the whole market.
Yeah.
So they would have mob cats. One, Warner Brothers had Russians. These cats had Irish, whatever. And then you see all these rappers that come up and they're like, yeah, I used to sell crack before I did this. Like, entertainment is a hard industry. And a lot of comedy has roots in like speakeasies and mob funded joints, doesn't it? I would assume that was one of the only places that you could have comedy in certain periods in time.
Where, in what place?
I would assume like speakeasies, and there was a lot of mob influence from what I understood.
Oh, dude, back then the comic was the mob.
Club.
They were the mob's buddy. The comic. That's why you hear stories about these comics always being the buddies of the head mafia guy. Like, you could joke around with them. Those old videos of guys doing shows. Yeah, don't kill me, Vinny. Seriously, don't kill me. That whole that vibe. But they loved the comics. They loved the comics that would come in and tell the jokes and stuff. So yeah. But there was a whole the mob had a lot more to do. I was just listening to a Vegas thing recently. How mob, Vegas is around because of the mob. They completely
right.
Yeah. So that makes total sense to me.
What's the closest you ever got to like mob cats? Are you at liberty to say? You know a lot of people. I feel like you probably had some run-ins with some real dudes like that.
There were a couple where, but there weren't. I wasn't close enough. There were some guys that asked me one day after a show. It was in Chicago, which is, and there was some guys. A guy comes up, hey, we're gonna go to this other club. Why don't you come over this? We'll buy you a drink and we'll hang out with us for a night. I go, yeah, that'd be great. I'm hey, okay, sure. And he walks away, and another guy says, we'll see you outside or whatever. And then this other guy comes up to me and says, you don't want to come with us. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, no, you just trust me. You don't want to. And then it hit me. I was like, oh, I probably don't want to go with these guys. I don't think I want to go hang out with these guys. And I just passed. I was like, all right, oh, no, I'll see you guys later. And I somehow bailed out of it. At the time, I was seeing my wife dating. And I go, hey, I got to go with the fiance, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you pussy. And they're calling me names. And I'm like, whatever, see you later. But the whole time, I'm like, yes, probably a better idea. I don't go. So that's the closest I've ever had to deal with anything. So I've never had professional dealings with anybody in the mafia, but I've brushed elbows with people that way.
Yeah, my pops he was an Italian food distributor from Chicago to St. Louis, so he knew every Italian restaurateur from both cities.
Right.
And that was oftentimes a front for the mob and for the mafia, and they would have hangout spots there and stuff like that. So the one thing he told me about the mafia is he said, never be worried about the guys you've heard of. Never be worried about the guy that's talking about being hard. Never worry about the guy blabbing his mouth. It's the quiet ones that are the real motherfuckers you got to worry about.
Yeah, right. That makes sense.
And I've carried that with me through my entire life. That just goes with people. Usually the loudest guy in the room is not the scariest one. You know?
Right. Yeah, the more you brag about, it's like the old. I wish I had this conversation. The more somebody brags about how good they are in bed, the more horrible they are in bed. It's the same thing. Or have you ever been?
Yeah.
This is a kid. You ever been with someone who said they gave? This is gonna get really blue now. I don't know if I want to go there. I don't think I want to go there. Never mind. Let's keep that.
I always got to keep my mind from there's something in my brain that goes, okay, there are levels to how fucked up a joke can go. And I can't help but imagine how dark and terrible I can make a joke. Just how gut-wrenching sort of, ooh, did he really just say that?
Yeah.
I heard somebody say comedy's dangerous again. And I'm really curious to see who's going to be that guy that comes out, or girl, that comes out and just shakes everybody. I mean, it seems like it's always Chappelle, but I'm looking for somebody new, that just shakes the comedy world. Do you think that we'll have another cat like that that can be a revolutionizer,
Yeah, I think we definitely will. I think you always do. I think every few years there's somebody that comes in. And it's that old cliche where you think, like a sports analogy, that record will never be broken. Like all records will be broken someday. There's always someone that's going to step in and someone's going to make a change. I think what's going to happen now, I don't know if it'll be a stand-up thing. I think it'll be more along the lines of social media, or especially this is helping it, the COVID situation. And we've been heading down that road for years with influencers and YouTubers and all this other stuff. And they've all done certain things, but I don't think anyone's made a giant splash. Because the thing with social media is it's niche orientated. It's like if you might have like a lot of followers, but you have so many followers that are your niche. The days of the old rock and roll arena comic, Kinnison, Dice Clay, even who's the guy out of Boston that I always forget, the big name that did MySpace constantly. He reinvented the way he advertised. Dane Cook. I'm sorry, you forget Dane Cook's name always. But those are rock and roll auditorium comics, and I don't know how many. Or Dice Clay used to sell out the Garden like 5 nights in a row. Dude, what comic is going to do that? Chappelle could probably do that now. You know what I mean? I think that's the only guy I can think of up around. Even Rogan is opening for Chappelle on those tours.
I think that's by choice, though. I mean, either of those guys could probably sell out the Garden without even trying.
I agree now. I know they do that now because they like hanging out, and Chappelle likes to bring a good comic with him to open up. But I heard his show is amazing. It's a whole production, But he's a guy that could easily. And he's and I bring up Chappelle a lot because he's hands down the best that's out there. I think right now he's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He's more of a almost like a prophet than a comic. He's one of those guys that not isn't just great and funny. Like Dice was huge and funny, and Sam was huge and funny and made certain social commentaries. But Chappelle makes a lot of statements and is pretty significant. You know what I mean? That I haven't seen. I haven't seen that comedy wise. You see somebody get really big and popular because they're funny, but he's got something behind what he says.
I totally agree, and I think that his finesse comes in with having the finesse. He doesn't self-deprecate anymore. You know, Rogan even admits to having to talk about how much of an idiot he is before he says a rough joke, just to kind of prime the audience.
Yeah.
Chappelle comes in and walks in like that rock star, and he just dives right in.
Yeah.
One of his first lines in one of his sets is, I'm so intelligent that I'm not fit for this world or something. That's his first line out. You know, he's just riding that comedy god wave now, and it's gonna produce like a whole new level of, I think, social commentary by him. But I worship him. I mean, Killing Them Softly was like one of the first comedy specials that just smacked me in the face, and I watched it 12 times, 14 times. Me and all my friends were quoting it like, you know, the day that Anchorman came out. We worshiped that whole thing. I discovered Lauryn Hill and Dave Chappelle in the same week. It was a good week.
That is a good week, brother. Dude, Chappelle is also he's a master of his cadence, and his use of silence is brilliant. You know, he doesn't like a lot of guys. I move pretty quick and I'm very high energy on stage. And a lot of guys move high energy. Like Kevin Hart moves at 1,000,000 miles a minute. But Chappelle, man, he'll take time. You know, he'll tell a joke that's like 8 words long, and it'll take 4 minutes to tell that joke, just because he paints the picture so well and uses his silences and pauses. It's brilliant work. It's fantastic. Somebody just mentioned Bill Burr could do that too. Bill Burr could sell out the. I think he has already sold out the Garden. I'm sure he has. Right?
Oh yeah,
Bill Burr.
He's trapped in some crazy contracts right now, man. They got him on the road playing like sometimes 2 gigs a night right now.
No way, really?
Yeah, he's like totally overbooked. Just wants to pull out of his contract, but he can't. From what I've been watching and reading,
he was really good. He started a company early on, Everything Comedy. He runs a lot of podcasts through there. Him and another comic run this whole industry. He's usually on top of that stuff. He's usually really good at not getting locked into like a. That's another thing that him and Rogan talk about when they talk about Hollywood all the time, where there used to be a day where you wanted to get discovered and have a manager, and then you got to follow all these rules in Hollywood in order to get noticed. And nowadays you can just pay for your own way, and that's what Rogan has done. And what Bill Burr's doing is he's usually pretty ahead of not getting himself locked into a contract. But who knows what happened? I don't know. I haven't seen him lately. I listen to his podcast occasionally, but I haven't seen him much lately.
It's amazing that Rogan made it through, though. Like, it seems like all the gates have been open to Rogan. Like, in some sort of looking at his early content and the type of shit that they would talk about in some of those rougher episodes with Joey Diaz, like the fact that he is now being considered to be a moderator for the presidential election is insanity.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That is literally could you imagine a UFC fight commentator? The guy that did X Factor. I think he's brilliant, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But just the fact that really he is now going to be one of the most important figures in American history.
Yeah.
They're going to, I mean, he reported Snowden firsthand whenever he was, you know, basically they said he could come back to the country. Right. That's going in a history book. So many of the things he's, and the people he's had on, that moment with Elon Musk, that's going in a history book. And it's the Fear Factor guy. It's just wild.
There's a lot of stuff, dude. He talks about those early episodes, how they were crappy and how he shifted. He's always been really smart, dude. I worked with Rogan on a project years ago after, I want to say after Fear Factor. It was after News Radio. It was after Fear Factor. He was already set. I mean, he was already in really good shape. You know what I mean? And he was always really smart and kind of ahead of the curve. And this is before he really blew up and started doing the podcast. But he always talked about those first few years in the podcast were rocky. You know what I mean? And I think the
Mhm.
thing that makes it like why I listen to him so much now is I listen to guys like Elon Musk, and I listen to the guys like that he brings to the table. And you're right; those are significant and voices which he had during the primary. He had Tulsi Gabbard on there. He's had Bernie Sanders on there. He's had all these people on there that want to do the show. It's not even it's not like they're being forced into it. People want to go do his show. It's a better.
Mhm.
Plus, it gives like the example Tulsi Gabbard he made. I think with Tulsi on that show was he could do 3 or 4 hours on a show. So for any political candidate to go on a show, they really gives them an opportunity to flesh out whatever they want to say. It's not just this 20-minute
Mhm.
soundbite of, well, here's my plan. You got 3 minutes to spit it out.
Right.
And Rogan can dictate. He's smart because he dictates what he wants to do, and he's in control of it. So
Yeah. So if shit really hits the fan, what country are you fleeing to? If you had to leave the U.S., where would you go and hide out?
I'd probably go to Mexico. I don't have a lot of money. The U.S. dollar goes really far in Mexico, dude. So I would
That's true.
go to Mexico for sure. So I could survive probably in Mexico. I
I
think
got
that's
some
where I go.
exes in Ensenada I can set you up with. They
I
used
love-
to run a
dude.
gun range in Ensenada.
I got a ton of friends in Ensenada. I could go there. I got a buddy I ran into and went to high school with who lives in Ensenada, and I hung out with him for the day, and he showed me he's got this like a camper. He's on the beach. His cell bill's like $4 a month. He's like, dude, this is the best place ever to live. And I'm like, I'm living here. I'm totally. If I didn't have kids, I'd be
Yeah.
there by now. I got news
Yeah.
for you. I'd be down there for sure.
I got buddies down there. I got one buddy down there that's trying to get me to come and visit him, and he is doing. You hear Rogan talk about DMT all the time. Basically, one of the versions of DMT is called Bufo, and essentially what it is it's those poisonous frogs that you scare them, like basically just poke them or stimulate them somehow, and then they squirt their poison out onto the walls of like an aquarium. You scrape that off, and then you like sprinkle that on top of ganja or tobacco or whatever else. And then that's one of the most high potency, naturally occurring forms of DMT. And so he's down in Mexico doing this with shamans that have had these traditions of like certain drum patterns and humming songs and certain chants and, the smoke lodges and stuff like that, right in the middle of the jungle. And he's out there doing them all the time. And he said, he's tripped on everything. He said this is totally a different thing. He said you're one with mother is what they call it, mother.
One with
It
the
gets
mother?
heavy, man.
No, that sounds heavy. That's a guy who's.
I feel like I kind of want to do it. I mean, I hear everybody talking about it. They say you live 7 years and 7 minutes. I mean, I've pretty much done everything except that.
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued, but I don't know if going to Mexico right now is the move.
I got some followers on the show. Ah, crap! I keep forgetting to say something to the followers that are on here. They're commenting. One guy just went down to Mexico, came back. He said it was great.
Yeah.
I had no problem. My concern was getting back over the border. Like I thought about driving to Ensenada like 2 or 3 weeks ago and taking the kids because they love Ensenada. I go, why don't we just go to Ensenada for the weekend? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that because what if I can't get back in the country? That's all I need, and then I'm screwed.
Right.
But
Yeah, and I mean, something could pop off at any minute. I mean, really.
yeah, dude, the
If
way things
ever
are
there
going
was,
now.
like-
Yeah, if there was ever a time to be like, maybe I should stay home, this is that time. This is at any moment, one thing. I mean, it's 2020. I keep joking about that. 2020. Anything happen, I wouldn't be surprised if anything happened. If it started to rain alligators, I would be like, okay, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's 2020. But
Well,
that's
shit,
why
I'm the place that's gonna happen, man.
Yeah,
If
you are. You're
anyone is
alligator
having that
central.
happen, it's wild. I swear to God, man, I've fallen asleep some places that could have been risky. Like kept my I got this big Sprinter van that I was kind of living in for a little while, and now it's just like my tour van or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I'm curious, have you ever thought about doing that tiny house thing or like doing the RV living since you're on the road all the time? Have you ever thought about that?
Dude, I was really into the whole minimalist move the last few years. Before my oldest moved in with me. When I got into cruise ships, I started dating a minimalist, and I fell into it, and I got rid of a ton of stuff. And it was all, I mean, I'm like, I could do a tiny house. I could live in a van. I could do all of that. And then working on ships made it even easier because then you start to live in those close quarters. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So now do I not only have very little shit, but I can live in a room. I can do this. I can easily do it. What changed it, the only thing that changed it for me was the both my daughters moving in with me, you know, and now suddenly I got shit again, you know, I got more space, and they're here, and I mean I love them, but they're always like, we need this, and I go, no, we don't need that, you know, we need to eat and sleep. That's what we need. So it drives them nuts because I'm very namaste in the moment. I'm a really big believer in being present. I keep saying you're not being present right now. And teenage girls don't take that very well. You know, they get a little cranky with that. But they, you know, they want more stuff. They want couches and they want stuff to decorate the house, and she wants furniture that matches. And I'm like, I was good with a card table and a recliner. All I needed was a TV, bro. If I had a TV, you know what I mean? Like a big screen TV so I could watch football. You know, and now I don't even need cable. You just hook up to the internet. I can watch you know, I can watch TV that way. But
I'm so bougie with the stuff we got here. I'm like the interior designer of the crib. You can probably see I got some stuff hanging on the walls. This
yeah, dude, I love the guitars back there, dude. That's nice.
This is like the only room that's sacred in this whole damn house, though, man. The rest of it, there's just, oh man, it's the dog and the lady. They just got reign of the rest of the house. But man, I to be honest, if I would be anywhere during this lockdown, Florida's about one of the best places, just because people got that attitude of like, sometimes I don't care for that like give a fuck attitude, but man, sometimes seeing how these cats live, just wild and carefree, it inspires something in you. It's kind of like every time I hear someone going down to Key West, they go down there to find this sort of, you know, it's 5 o'clock somewhere sort of mentality.
Yeah, that
and
vibe.
Man, and it's affected me. Kind of like, not definitely I'm not there yet. I still got a lot of Chicago in my veins, man. I gotta force myself to talk slower when I'm down here.
Yeah, right. That's a thing down there, bro. They
Oh,
look at you
it's
confused.
rough.
They're like, whoa, 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 what'd you say? And you're like, what? I can't be any clearer. What's the problem? They're all confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, but you know what?
And
The one thing as a touring entertainer, though, which all COVID's fucking enough for everybody right now, but as a touring entertainer, this is why I love the minimalist thing. It's kind of cool to go out on a tour and work the road and be in a hectic schedule and travel and do a bunch of stuff and then come home to that. You know what I mean? You come home to that mellow, that Florida feel. That's a cool thing. I think that's a great ground zero.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned being present, and that's kind of, man, that's such a big concept. Even when I hear that, I hear Eckhart Tolle just talking about sitting in a room. He goes, "What do you do for fun?" "I sit in a room and I'm just blissful." I'm like, fuck you, man. Have you ever drank Hennessy? Like, get a blowjob already. Don't tell me you have bliss sitting in a fucking room looking at a tree. I get that like level of wanting to be zen, but man, you and I both have lived some fucking amazing lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
The type of highs that you and I have probably had, a lot of normal people probably can't relate to.
Yeah.
Like, I've smoked weed with a monkey in Barbados. Like, who's fucking done that? Like, how do you come back from that?
Yeah, there's no step down. Dude, that's you bringing me back to the frog thing. I would totally do the frog thing, especially since it's natural. Like, I'm a big believer, much more in natural than like chemical based. You know what I mean? That's why pot is always works for me. I'm like, well, I'm good with pot because it's natural, grows. I'm good.
Do you smoke pot?
Yeah, I do. Well, I do.
I actually was gonna solve some nausea over here real quick.
No, I do. Well, you know what? I didn't when I met you, dude, because they drug test you on the ships, man. You know what I mean? And I
was smoking every day.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk it, dude. The second they told me that, I quit smoking. So I didn't smoke any pot at all while I worked on ships.
I can't tell you how many times I taped some Mexican ditchweed to my ball sack and just waddled through customs, dude. I cannot tell you how many times. And it was so fucked because you had to sneak weed in, but you could buy Xanax and Prozac by the pill, Adderall by the pill.
Yeah, right.
But weed, they just were like, oh, don't
have
my
the
God.
weed.
And that happened to me, dude. I can't tell you how many times when we were going to Ensenada that I would just find a lone Mexican Viagra pill in my tip jar. They would just throw one lone Viagra in my tip jar.
Dude, I always got chipped with when I was selling CDs after the show. I always got somebody giving me Viagra on the way out. Every time.
I ain't mad at it, man. It's a whole nother level. That's like that's like being ready for the big fight, you know. That's a little different level than the normal. But I'm 4 years into a relationship now. You know, that's one thing that I got really good at out on shits was I learned how to shag women really fast and really, really well for about a week at a time because that's how long the cruises were.
Yeah,
Dude,
short
I'm in this
relationships.
4 year territory. I got no fucking clue what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
am so clueless at this level in the relationship. It's like I'm relearning everything about anything that I thought about women. It's a
Well-
totally different thing. It's a whole skill set that I never even had.
Well, it's a whole different relationship vibe, bro. What was your longest relationship before this?
Shit, like less than probably 8 months.
Oh wow.
Like
So this
with as an adult. Like I
Sure.
had high school stuff, but nothing serious.
right.
But that was with a blue-haired Puerto Rican from the Bronx, and that was a fucking nightmare from day one. That
Dude.
was just bad news,
Dude,
man.
I sign up for that class right now. That sounds great. I love crazy and
Oh.
chaos. That's got to be insane. That's got to be nuts.
It was well, that was the time of my life that American Idol happened too. So I just moved to New York, and I'm living in this Puerto Rican household in the fucking Bronx, and trying to adjust to this new lifestyle and trying to get gigs in a city where everybody can totally tell I'm not local. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
And I started talking like I was from New York. It just happened easy. My name's Vinny. Forget about it. You know, it wasn't too hard to just put that hat on. And I
Right.
started getting more work after that. But like most of the places I was getting work were like the type of bars where they just like grab the ice out of the ice machine with their bare fucking hand and put it in the glass. Like those were the only bars I was getting work at.
Should wiping their
It was-
face.
Oh, I almost said something the first time I played at this cop bar, and the guy did that, and I looked sideways at the guy next to me. He goes, "He's a retired police chief. Show some fucking respect." Like I was about to say something about him getting his knuckle hairs in my fucking old fashioned, but they told me to just deal with it.
Just
Man.
shut up.
You know?
Shut up and be happy
And I
you're getting a
did.
drink. Okay.
Yeah, so then American Idol happened while I was like training to be a T-Mobile phone salesman. So I basically was like applying to be a firefighter, and I had just gotten a job at T-Mobile, waiting to hear if I'd be a Yonkers firefighter or not. And then I got the call from from American Idol, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna fly you out to do this show, and we're gonna do something with you." And then in the midst of that, I went out to Hollywood and I never made it back to the Bronx.
Oh.
My girls shipped all my shit back to my mom's house. And while I was going through Hollywood week, I knew that I didn't have a crib to go back to. I knew I had to call my job and tell them I quit and cancel all my gigs and all this. It was wild, man. That was a wild
dude.
time.
And then you just stayed in LA.
Yeah. I stayed in LA for a little while. I stayed in LA for probably like 3 or 4 weeks, and LA's always been really, really enticing to me, but almost like in an addictive sense. Like every time I'm in LA, I get so sucked up in the Hollywood bullshit, all the
Yeah,
superficial shit that I try not to get invested in. It just gets its hooks into me. You know,
Really?
all that vanity shit and ego shit. Yeah, just like the desire to be famous
Yeah.
when I was younger was so huge. But now, I feel like I've pretty much killed my ego. I used to be a real kind of an asshole, but after a lot of kind of being present and exploring a lot of these teachings and stuff, I'm not an asshole anymore. And it makes me totally not care about being famous at all anymore.
Good.
I want to pay my bills. That's it. I don't give a shit about fame at all.
Yeah, it's a refreshing feeling. Go ahead.
I mean, it is refreshing. I just feel like it allows you to be on a new level of authenticity when you're not worried about losing your audience. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, well, you can focus more on what you want to do. It's really more about what you want to do on a daily basis. Quality of life, man. It's a quality of life thing. You know what I mean? And real quality, not monetary or not subject or object quality, like the big house, the car, you know what I mean? The dress in the hills. Yeah, I started to enjoy LA a lot more when it wasn't so much about getting a show and getting huge. You know what I mean? Once I started to focus on, and a lot of that had to do with, dude, again, being present. Eckhart Tolle changed my whole approach to to not just life but acting, and auditions and being on stage. It made everything better because then once you're present completely, you're present when you're performing, and that's the most important thing. Is to be present when you're performing, not thinking, I hope they like this gig. I hope, you know what I mean? You want to be, so many things go, as a performer, so many things go through your head. You can almost put it into like third gear and do a song without really thinking about it. You're starting to think about other stuff. You're thinking about your laundry, whatever. You start to think about shit. You get out of your head,
Right.
man. But it's not a pure performance. It doesn't work. It works for you. It works for them, I think, better, but it works for you even more because the whole reason you're on stage is that you like to perform. You like to play. You like to do it, man. And if you're not in that moment, you're wasting it. You're wasting that opportunity to be in that moment.
100%. And I feel like I lost that ability to authentically connect, but I got so good at the technical side that I knew how to please an audience, even on autopilot. I could be numb. I
Sure.
could be completely indifferent and have a fucking amazing show.
Right.
But it was like empty. So coming down here has been a lot about slowing the pace down so that I can reconnect to that authentic connection and be more present and things like that. Eckhart Tolle, he's an interesting guy. I like a lot of the stuff that he's saying, but I like some of these wild men too, like Wim Hof. It's just like climbing Mount Everest in his shorts and shit like that. I like these. I still like reading about the madmen because those are the people that throughout history that I've always admired. As much as I love a lot of these academics, I want to keep kind of a flame of lunacy in my brain a little bit. I want to keep a little bit of crazy. Like the fact that I'm fucking puking before a podcast, drinking beer and smoking a bowl, and I turn 30 next month. I feel pretty fucking good about that.
you're doing all
I'm
right.
still living a little bit of a rock star life. A little bit.
No, you're out there, brother. There's not many people at where you 9 o'clock at night out there, right? 9:30, whatever. Friday. It's a Friday night.
Yeah.
It's okay. Drink a beer.
It is a Friday night. Yeah, it's really a night off for me. I've had so many weekday gigs, and I actually got offered one a night, so I was feeling really lucky. But to be honest, there really is. It seems like there's a second wave going around of COVID, and all the other musicians are dropping like flies. So I've been getting all these calls.
Oh, really?
But it's like it's when you're, and you might find this being on the road too. When you're out there so much and you're really watching how often you're engaging with people and in close quarters, even no matter how safe you want to be, I'm looking at it as a matter of when, not if, at this point. Because I'm playing so much and I'm really out there and they just are going 100% in Florida. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it. That's why my girlfriend was force feeding me zinc. Rogan always talks about zinc and all these
zinc
doctors.
and the vitamin D, brother. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Just bad timing, really. You're obviously pretty, very well read on a lot of these heavier topics. Do you feel like since the lockdown, do you feel more of a need to dive deeper or heavier? Like, do you want to have more of a message, or are you changing your style, or has it affected you at all?
As far as my comedy, like my stand-up?
Yeah, like the style of content that you're wanting to do. Like you said that Chappelle's really got a heavy message behind a lot of his stuff. Do you feel called to inject more of a message now?
No, I never have, dude. But my message has always been the same, I think. I always talk about human interaction and how we get along. And to me, that's always been very important to me. And it came from growing up with brothers and a mom where we didn't get along. We fought constantly. There was a lot of fighting in my family. There's still fighting in my family, So that's where my earlier comedy came from that. And then the middle comedy came about dating and conflict. There's a lot of conflict, but it's conflict between people and individuals and how we handle it and process it as individuals, as people. You know what I mean? And by telling those stories, I associate with people in the audience that have gone through the similar stories. And my stories are more like I do bits about my alcoholic father, or like you were saying about how many people in the world smoke pot with a monkey. You know what I mean? Our experience is a little more deeper than than other people. So when I talk about, being out, or getting high, or someone or being, or even the littlest thing is getting divorced. I'll do a bit about getting divorced, and people that are not divorced, been married for 20 years, are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I go, "Well, don't be, because it made me who I am. And it's part of my life, and that's what it is." And if you tell those stories, it's always intrigued me, has been the interaction between people, and even more so now because it seems like so many of us can't get along. You know what I mean? It seems like a lot of people just can't get along. So I just tell the same true story. Now my stuff evolves around being, the girls. You know what I mean? Not just the girls. What I'm really into talking about is how we interact on social media, and we just can't seem to figure it out. It just seems like it's not pleasant. 90% of the internet is not pleasant for people. And I don't understand why we go down that road. So the only message I follow is the same message I've always followed, is that we're all just trying to get along, and we fuck it up most of the time.
Well, I think that's a pretty timeless one too. Yeah,
it kinda is.
I felt like I need to, like, all the music I put out before was just kind of like bachelor party rock. You know what I mean? It was, for the most part, maybe a couple ballads in there, but I only put out one album, but it was all just kind of spur of the moment, young type shit. And now that I'm writing music again, I feel the need to make it really say something, especially now. Somebody said the other day that it's artists' duty to really document this time right now, because, we didn't really know that the hippie movement was going to be such a big deal when it was happening.
Right.
But now we look back at those musicians of those exact years as like gods.
Right.
We look at Woodstock like the greatest collection of rock and rollers of all time. But it was hard to tell at the time, I feel like. And so I feel like I do need to say more of a message, but right in the line of just trying to get people to be good to each other. I think that's kind of what my message is trying to be. Have a good time and be good to each other, because people are forgetting how to do that, man.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, people aren't looking at each other like they're just the same bag of bones and water, walking around and farting all day. We're all the same motherfucking thing. Like, why are we tripping? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Dude, well, I call it like a big part. I started talking about the social media thing a while ago, because I spent most of my time writing material that makes some sort of, it talks about interaction, but it really talks about how we can't get along. And now it's like I mentioned it earlier, like sometimes you can have a different point of view with someone, and then you can still hang out with them. But it seems like you can't do that anymore. We're getting to a point where if you don't agree with someone, people literally hate you and make fun of you and attack you. And you're like, whoa, what? When did that get weird? You know what I mean? When did we not be able to have just different points of view? Why can't we just talk about it? And nobody knows how to interact correctly without being angry and attacking about it.
Right.
So
Well, Eckhart Tolle talks about, like, he talks about how trauma and different pain bodies take over a certain area, right? The energy shifts in a certain area according to stress factors and economic factors and things like that. So, like, I remember reading in history books when they would say the country was a powder keg. There were wartime emotions, and I never knew what that meant. But kind of what you're talking about, it's like everybody's been put on high alert that a battle's happening, but no one can quite identify the bad guy.
Right.
Nobody knows who the bad guy is, but everybody knows, the hair on the back of their neck is up, and they know, hey, it's fight or flight right fucking now.
Right.
But who do I hit?
It's like that. It's like
And
the
then
bar
they
brawl
just-
where you're
it's-
back in the corner and you're just like, which guy?
Right.
Who's coming? Who's coming?
And then you end up knocking out your buddy on accident, collateral damage here and there. And that seems to be exactly what's happening. Everybody knows that a fight's happening, but it's like someone turned the lights off and people are swinging blindly. And, so then it's like road rage gets turned into a new thing. The mask gets turned into a new thing. It's just like it's wild, man.
Well, I think a big part of that, or a big reason for that, well, social media has a lot to do with it, because we're constantly bombarded with news, and then the media doesn't help because they're constantly trying to one up each other. So it seems like everybody's trying to scare you. Like the news is trying to freak you out. This is why you don't know who to swing at, is everybody's attacking everybody, so you don't know who to trust. When I was talking about the COVID thing earlier, I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. I just follow the rules and go through the motions, which is kind of scary to say, because there's a lot of people that think that a lot of this is happening because they want to teach us to just follow rules and go through motions. I mean, there's there's that contingency that believes that a lot of this is premeditated and trying to get us into that globalization like we talked about earlier, trying to get everyone to pay attention and follow the rules. And then it seems like that's the only safe thing to do now, is to wear the mask and just follow the rules and not question anybody. Because if you post something on Twitter now that's against what people believe as far as COVID goes, or what the media is saying, you can get blocked from Twitter or knocked off of Twitter. They're doing it constantly. You can't perpetuate fake news, but you got to be careful when you voice your opinion now too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to get a damn Linux desktop and start going dark web on the daily. Like a lot of really credible news sources, from what I'm seeing, are starting to resort to like Telegram and WhatsApp, like direct text messaging services, kind of how Twitter originated, right?
Right.
Everybody was getting text messages. And a lot of the conspiracy theories think that those direct to people, tweeting or posting stuff on the dark web or on Telegram, that's really the only news you can trust. And it sucks to really honestly go, I really don't know what the fuck's going on. And I mean, I had 6 months to sit at home and obsess and try to figure it out. And I don't feel like I got shit figured out, other than there's a lot of bad people at play. And I think 10 years from now, this shit's going to be unrecognizable.
Right. Yeah. No, everything's going to be different and changed now moving forward.
But on the bright side, they're saying $70 billion is going to be the market share for live streaming next year alone. So like this whole, you're definitely ahead of the scheme on that by all means. So props to you for that. But it is hopeful that people are always going to want somewhere to spend their money and want people to invest in that are willing to be talented and put themselves out there. So I think that less people will be able to be in that situation, but I'm really hoping it just weeds out a lot of the amateurs and people who shouldn't have been in the industry in the first place. As cold as that sounds.
No.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, survival of the fittest, and I've always talked about the cream rising to the crop. When content first started becoming popular, and everyone was like, just get content out there, just get some content out there. And you would watch it, and you wouldn't realize how much crap was out there. I noticed it more. Here's two things to think about, too. I didn't realize how much crap there was content-wise till this COVID thing, because I had a lot of time to watch everything. So I've been able to see a lot of stuff, and I'm like, that's not that great. And then you realize, without live audiences, a lot of these late-night TV shows, you see the stuff they're doing, they're not even figuring it out. Some of their shows are kind of weak. They're like, you're watching that going, I could have done that. It's just so...
Almost all of them.
Yeah. They're not that. Everyone's trying. What's going to happen is this kind of. It's similar to when TV kicked out radio. This format is being completely reinvented now, and I think a lot of studios and a lot of entertainment companies are going to lean toward live streaming and things that are online, because first of all, there's no overhead. I mean, look at what's happened. This is going to give everybody an opportunity to weed down their staffs and to go with a low skeleton crew or no skeleton crew, whatever you want to call it. And you only have 4 or 5 people to put on a show now. That's all you need. I mean, I do all this crap. Now I do it myself. The first few weeks of me doing the show were a train wreck. You know what I mean? The video would freeze. The backdrop would fall. I mean, there's a million things going wrong. But I've got it figured out to a point now where I get through a good hour and a half show, and there's no hassles. I can do it myself, but it's just me. I think everyone's going to figure that out. And as time goes by, there'll be more quality entertainment as well. Because I think the weaker links are going to fall off. The cream always rises to the crop. I've always believed that. I don't know if it's true, but that's kind of what I've always believed.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that people stick with it. I mean, I've already had my ups and downs with it, but I'm starting to get hip with it. I'm starting to come to terms with it. In a better way. But I'm curious where it's gonna go. I see some of these comedians like Twitch live streaming, and some people are getting really clever with it. I just miss people. I just fucking love talking to people, dude. And there is something that flies through the air, energy wise, that just is such a drug that you can't synthesize it with a computer screen between you. Like, I remember you and me sitting with a bowl of ceviche between us at like Hotel B, shit, shooting the shit and drinking beers, that sort of interaction, just you can't replicate that. And so
Right.
people are going to try, and we're obviously, you got to keep trying, but I'm just really looking forward to that mentality, people feeling like that's safe again, because I feel like it's safe enough personally, man. I'm
Yeah.
ready for it.
Well, there's a big push they're doing with this cruise ship thing now, where they're talking about launching ships again, and they're like, well, they're opening other things. Why can't people just wear masks on a ship? They're missing. I think we can only go so long without that human interaction, man. It's been 6 months, but you're like,
Right.
first of all, there's nothing like a live audience when you're in front of a live crowd or live full. I miss a room full of people, man. You know, I miss it. And piped in music and sound just isn't the same. It's just not. It's not gonna. I mean, they're gonna do the best they can to get halfway there, but you're not gonna figure it out. But I think we're all gonna get to a point where some of this human interaction thing, you're missing it big time, dude. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, that day at Hotel B, any of those days when there was like 8 of us at the poolside. You know, when you got off a ship and you had a day to kill and you just hung out, we all crammed into a taxi, you know, and just went somewhere. You know, those experiences are valuable, man. They're gone. You know, you're missing them. Starting to miss them.
I just think people underestimate what humans are willing to risk. I mean, when people used to go and watch the gladiators, there was a decent chance that a lion was getting loose and
Yeah.
someone that was not very fast was going to get fucked up, you
I
know?
just, yeah.
Uh, People are willing to risk whatever for entertainment. So what's interesting right now is there's part of me that when I see someone doing some kind of ballsy, even if it's like that asshole that was not allowing masks, when I see
Right.
someone trying to do something edgy, part of me starts going, yeah, okay, okay.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
on. It's
rally
on.
the troops. Yeah, there's a little bit of that I start to get attached to, but it's hard to tell. It's such a blurry topic and nobody's got a good fucking answer that I don't know who to root for. Sometimes I see some of these guys just going balls to the wall with their businesses and they got their dance floors open already, and I'm just watching people cough in each other's mouths 10 times in a row, and you know what I'm saying? I'm going, I definitely know everybody on that dance floor is getting COVID right now. But at the same time, I'm like, this is fucking America. Like, we're allowed to do that. I don't know. It's such a I teeter-totter constantly about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm always stuck in the middle with the same. I'm with the same thing, man. Because you know what the thing that gets it for me is like the numbers are all about people who get it and not and most people get it and get over it and they're okay. And if there's a risk factor and there's a risk group, and I don't know if it's insensitive because I got people that I've had confrontations with some friends where I'm like, so you think it's better that the whole country just shuts down and then that way you can go get a loaf of bread? Why don't you just stay home and send somebody out to get the loaf of bread because you can't go out in public? You're the one that has to stay home, not everyone else. No, everyone should stay home. I'm like, what? I don't understand. I don't understand why. How many people are losing jobs and people are losing money, and there's some people in really bad shape right now financially. This economic thing is really it's been rough for a lot of people. So the problem, I see these numbers come out all the time. It's over 90% of people get it and they're okay, and then the infection rate is low, and it's not like you get this and you die 2 days later. You know what I mean? You know, it's just a lot of people get it and then they have to go home and then they get better and then they go out. So that's what makes it
It's
even
just how
weirder
many
for me.
more times is this going to have to fucking happen? You know, the polar ice caps, we're going to have, what, some sort of prehistoric plague that comes out every week as that motherfucker melts down, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And so
right.
it's like, how many
Diseases.
more, how many masks do I need to buy right now?
Yeah. It's just get to the point where everybody's going to have like a bubble costume in their house. And then it'll be
I'm over it, man.
like tornado warnings, or when they go, it's going to rain, you just dress for the rain. Now we're going to be like, well, there's another disease out there. Well, I better put on the bubble costume. That way I can go out and go get a loaf of bread. I got to wear the costume. It'll be just
Man,
common.
I just would rather risk death. I feel like that doesn't feel like life, man. I would rather risk death. I don't know, man. I was one of those guys that went out and got a gun like as soon as shit popped off. I was like, okay, if the apocalypse is here, I better practice on my aim a little bit,
Yeah.
you know? Have you felt the need to are you in Chicago now or where are you?
No, I'm in LA, bro. I've been in LA. I've been the whole time. I've been in LA still. So I lived in
Do
LA.
you feel safe there? I mean, from what a lot of people are saying, it's a war zone.
Yeah, LA's a little iffy, man. I go out and do Uber Eats at night, and there's some areas out there that look like Escape from New York. I mean, they look pretty creepy, dude. I haven't got a gun yet, but I've been to the range a bunch of times, and I'm talking to a couple people, and I am getting a gun. So I think it's gonna get. I think after the election, things are gonna get shitty for about 6 weeks because they're not gonna have the ballots. Then it's going to be this whole mail-in, count the thing later, and here's what's going to happen. This is the worst possible scenario: is that Trump will come out on top after Election Day, and then when they count the mail-in ballots over 2 weeks, Biden will catch up, and then it's going to be a shit show. And then I think it's just going to be a complete shit show. So, yeah, I would love to get a gun, and I will within a very short period of time. But yeah, I've shot a gun only working on TV shows. So I never shot one for real, but I started going to the range and practicing, bro. And lining up sights and work. I know what gun I want, and I got it all. So yeah. So and dude, a lot of people are moving out of LA. There's parts of LA that are not in that great of shape. But honestly, here's what I think. One of the reasons I stay here is because of the daughters. But I think things will get better, and I think LA will be back, and I want to be here when it comes back. You know what I'm saying?
If you had to put an estimated revival time on that, I mean, what is the timetable that you're guessing?
Dude, I don't. I think it's going to be 2 or 3 years before. I mean, it depends on what you mean by back. Right now, they've lifted the ordinance on the homeless people living in the streets. So if you drive up and down certain city streets, there are tents up and down streets everywhere now. It's not just Tent City. It's not like before down in near Koreatown. They're everywhere. I mean, they're under each viaduct. There's whole just encampments of people in tents. And it's not just people. Nowadays, homeless people aren't just people that are homeless because there's mental health issues or they're on drugs. There's people that just can't survive to live out here, bro. The median price of a house in LA, they just said the other day, is $740,000. That's the median price just to buy a house out here. That's insane.
That's nuts.
That's insane.
It's not sustainable.
No. It's not. So there's people that are homeless here that are living in their tents that actually have cars parked outside of their tents. And I'm not kidding you, and they just can't afford rent. They can't afford an apartment. They can't get a house. That they have jobs or they lost their jobs. Now they got nowhere to go, but they pull up and they got a car that parks next to their tent. They get in their car, they lock up stuff, and they go sleep in the tent. I mean, it's a different time out here.
Yeah, see, Florida's so humid that it's way harder to be homeless. You'll spend 3 nights sleeping moist in this shit, and you'll just want a job so fucking bad. Yeah. No, I know it's fucking terrible for so many people, but I don't know. I got some hope for what's gonna happen next, because it's just like, I don't know. One of the reasons I got off cruise ships was because it was so comfortable that I needed to feel hungry again. I needed to feel riled up again. You know what I mean? And I think I got that going again, but in a healthier place. But I think that's what's going to happen on a large scale. I think that a lot of people are going to get out a lot of angst and a lot of creativity, I hope. And I hope it's a really pivotal part. But there seems to be a subplot that nobody can figure out. The real shit that's going on, nobody's quite hit it on the head yet, it seems like.
Well, I'd like to see one thing you said about people having angst inside them and what's going to come out artistically. I almost want to look forward to not just stand-up, but a lot of the different formats of entertainment that are being reinvented, scripts, TV shows. There's going to be a whole different wave of storytelling that's going to come out of this. And I want to say music, if the music industry wasn't so fucked up. If you can go, if you can release your own music on the internet and go that route, and I mean, that's the voice you got to have now. You know what I mean? Like it's not like the 70s after the hippie movement. The singer-songwriter thing was a lot easier to come out because radio wasn't owned by the 3 big album companies. You know what I mean? The music industry is turned upside down so much that all the popular music that comes out is only the stuff that they want you to hear. It's
right.
Not, as a musician. So some of the stuff that can be written now is some really awesome stuff. that could be really creative, but you're going to have to find it. You're going to have to find it through venues of streaming and online and internet, because it's not going to be on MTV and the radio.
Well, the trick is that a lot of people think that talent is going to be what drives these algorithms and gets people seen online, and that is not the case at all. It's got everything to do with digital marketing and how savvy you are with all of these, and how much time and how big of a team you have to commit time to the entire business side of it. And a lot of people just aren't willing to step away from the creative side and the lifestyle side enough to really do that, enough to have some change in their pocket and do it full time. I see a lot of cats that I'm guilty of it too, because I thought that I was diversified. I had like agent income, I was teaching, I was consulting, I had clients, everything was under the music industry bubble. So how was I supposed to know the whole bubble was going to just be gone? I thought that I was on both sides of the curtain, because I was performing regularly. I was hustling guitars constantly in different gear. It's kind of weird to realize that there's no way to predict how shit can shut down now. I just feel like so many precedents were set that it could happen again next week. It could be something new.
Well, I think one thing, it'll definitely put you in a mindset where you're more prepared, at the very least mentally, not maybe, and then financially in the long run, because you're going to have, like you said, I'm diversified as well, but all of my stuff comes under the comedy umbrella. The only thing that, like I mentioned, the thing is the streaming thing, and the streaming thing for me didn't really take off until I signed with I'm with 800 Pound Gorilla, who's a label that handles digital marketing and streaming and albums. And dude, my life changed when I signed with them. My two albums do very well, and it's mainly because they have he explained the whole system to me. He's got a team of 20 people, and he explains the different departments. I sent him an email. I mean, it's a team, dude. It's a team of people.
Cool.
And it's just me I'm trying to do share and like and all this other stuff. And I've been doing 6 months of shows, and I have less than 200 YouTube followers, and I have less than 2,000 Facebook followers, and you got to find a way to get out there. You're right. The algorithm is what's going to change everything. But what's going to dictate success is going to be this. It's going to be the followers and the people that pay attention on the internet and the streaming.
Yeah, and largely just the marketing and how you can manipulate that. But, usually that takes a pretty hefty budget. So it's tricky right now, man. It really is. But I think that one thing that's really interesting is that kind of what you said about LA is how I felt about wanting to be there when it comes back. I felt like that when I was on Shivs. I felt like I was missing out from some new city or new movement that was going to burst out in the country while I was stuck in a contract.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I was wondering, is that going to be in LA? Is that going to be in Austin? Is it going to be in Detroit? Because they just basically went bankrupt and it's a bunch of artists rebuilding the city. I was like, where do you think the next explosion of like culture or like meaningful entertainment is going to be coming from?
It's a hard question to answer, because I don't think it's going to be a major city now. I think it's going to be these small towns. You don't need to be in a major city. If COVID taught you anything, you don't need to be in New York or Chicago or LA to be successful. And I don't know what kind of boom you can expect, because those booms also revolve around live performance. You know what I mean? Like even the Austin thing, there was, because clubs pop up. It's got to be a population thing. I don't know if there's going to be another social or another boom as far as the city goes. I think it's going to come from a social media content. It's going to be streaming. It's going to be online. And as far as a city or a Mecca, Texas is getting a lot of people right now. I mean, Rogan just went down to Texas. He's not the only guy. There's other people that are going to Texas.
That move. I mean, that's been one of the hot spots that everybody's been talking about since South by Southwest became a thing. You know what I mean? It's
right.
I've been hearing about Austin since I started playing music. I've never personally been, but I do know. I know Texas has a pretty heavy anti-weed policy, so that kind of kept me from even wanting to tour through there. I didn't even really like driving through there, man.
Right. Yeah, because they seem to be pretty lax on everything else, as far as the gun laws and the tax laws are good there and all that. But yeah, they are not. Yeah, the weed that's still a no-no there.
Yeah, the idea of like a commune makes more and more and more sense to me anymore.
Yeah,
Doesn't it? Just having
but I
only a
think
few
that's what's
people
going to
you
happen
fuck with.
when you're talking about a boom thing. I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a commune. It's not going to be like Austin is the big city anymore. It's going to be like, hey, there's this commune somewhere in Nevada near the river where it, and that's where that's going to come from. If they get Wi-Fi connection and they get online, you don't need to be in a city. It's going to be a commune or a community. There's some of those are popping up here and there that are little communes. They're neighbor where people watch out for each other. I think the neighborhood might make a comeback on some level because you're going to be surrounded by people you care about and you trust.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big advocate of just I like following where my money's going, and I want to make sure that the guy that sits at the top of that pyramid is decent.
Right.
I
Yeah.
really
Right.
care about where my money's being spent. So if I can spend it on somebody that lives in the same neighborhood, I feel so much better about that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the whole idea of hyper local and sharing things and communal connection and really taking care of each other, that's something that I'm really trying to invest in. And for me, that's like a brand new adventure, man. I haven't invested in a community fucking ever in my adult life. I lived
Yeah.
in
Right.
St. Louis in the hood. Like we were tight with our neighbors and stuff, but you didn't have a sense of community at all. So now that I'm out here, I'm learning that that's almost its own skill set too, like being a decent
A
neighbor and
decent
shit.
neighbor.
Kinda. A lot of our neighbors don't like us, but it's cool. I think it's just because they smell me smoking weed on the front porch all the time. But
What's the weed rule in Florida? Are you legal there?
I got a medical card. Yeah, I got a
That a
medical
baby.
card.
There
So
you go. Okay.
uh, I got to renew it soon. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And, it's cheaper than street prices. And in a lot of, like in Illinois, it's not. It's basically the same amount you would get it on the corner.
Yeah, they haven't figured that
Um,
out. Well, Illinois is a mess right now, tax wise. It's so. I
yeah.
mean, I got tons of friends. I got tons of from. Half my family is moving to Tennessee. We've been talking to them now. They just sold their houses, and the tax situation in Illinois is not good. And in the city, it's even worse in Chicago.
Yeah, Memphis. Memphis is where I used to live for about a year and a half. Down there in Tennessee. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I kind of ran Graceland's music program for like a year and a half over there. I
Oh
met
no way,
Priscilla and hung out with him. Yeah.
dude, that's
So I
cool.
played. I played at the Graceland Resort and at the Graceland Museum like 4 or 5 times a week, and I ran their program, kind of like a Universal City Walk
Yeah.
sort of situation, like buskers and
Oh,
stuff.
dude, I wish I would have known that.
Um,
I always wanted to go down there. I'm a huge Elvis fan. I would love to go to Graceland. I've never been there.
It's cool. It's cool. Well, I'll tell you I've never told you this before. Okay, cool. So I met Priscilla one night. She was actually in there just like having martinis and hanging out with some of the management of Elvis Presley Enterprises, and they were doing a ribbon cutting at the resort that I booked all the entertainment at. But I happened to be the entertainer that night. So I'm playing Elvis in my style, which is kind of groovy and kind of a acoustic looping, progressive, almost alternative, soulful thing. It's hard to
Right.
explain. And she said that she'd never heard Elvis played like that before, and I didn't know whether to take that as a compliment or not. But then we talked for a little while, and I looked her dead in the eye, and I said, nobody puts a dumbwaiter in their house that can carry 300 pounds unless somebody planned on sneaking out of the basement. And she just looked at me, and I was like, I don't think Elvis died. And I told her this to her face, and she just kind of winked at me and laughed a little bit, and then started asking me about. She wanted to hear all about American Idol and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then I asked her one other question. I said, "Did Elvis wear boxers or briefs?" And she looked at me. She was laughing a bunch again, and there was like some Kardashian moms that were sitting there too. I didn't really know who they were, but they kept throwing that name around. And and I remember she laughed and she said he wore neither. And I said, did he went commando? She said, no, he wore a jockstrap every day of his life because he didn't want his panty line to show in his silk. So he rocked a jockstrap almost every single day of his life.
Dude, that's a great trivia thing to know. I've never ever heard that before,
It's
man.
it's nowhere. She didn't put it in her memoirs. I
Yeah.
asked her in person. It was crazy.
What where were we time wise? Oh wow. Oh wow. How you doing on time? Are you
We've
good?
been talking.
Dude, it's an
I'm
hour.
fine, man.
We're an hour and 40 minutes into this thing. It's easily the longest one I've ever done.
I like talking to you.
Yeah, we're good. Hey, do you want to talk about the American Idol thing quick before you get out of here? Tell me, let's talk about that a little bit. Is that good?
Yeah, that's cool. So basically, they called me while I was on a ship to come out and try out. Like, it was a YouTube clip that I had sent some agent once upon a time. So I was kind of one of the guys that they called in as a ringer, and I honestly think I was kind of typecast, but then I also really thought I had a shot. Like, I was going to go in there and stir some shit up. I was going to be
Right.
ratings worthy, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so when I went in, I had like, a beard down to my chest. I had this rock and roll chick I brought with me, and they were really trying to paint me out to be like the bad boy. So I kind of got sucked into that role a little bit, you know what I mean?
Right.
But then they do all these interview things, and you got to answer questions that don't apply to you. So they were asking me like, why did I come try out today? And I couldn't be like, y'all bought me a first class ticket. That's like, like it's in my NDA. I'm not supposed to say that. So
Right.
I had to come up with something off the top of my head, and I can make myself cry pretty easily. I play acoustic guitar for a living. Of course, I'm a sensitive motherfucker. So anyway,
that should be the name of your new album, by the way.
I
Sensitive
might.
motherfucker.
That'd be good on a t-shirt. I like that. I know some people that would wear that or that should wear that. So I go and they ask me why I wanted to try out. So I made up a story and made myself cry where I'm going like, well, 25 years ago, I was 25 at the time. 25 years ago, my mom went to a Harry Connick Jr. concert, and she ended up backstage, and one thing led to another, and I'm pretty sure he's my daddy. And like the boom mic falls over, the producers are dying laughing, the cameraman's shaking. They had no idea that was coming. I kind of scripted it in my head a little bit before we started. And so this clip spread like wildfire everywhere with all of the management. And I'm not going to lie, when we were like in San Francisco, I was drinking with some of the producers and shit. I like Hollywood types. I liked hanging out with them and talking shop. It was my shit. So I got a little too close, flew a little too close to the sun. Harry Connick Jr. caught wind of this. He was supposed to take over, and he did end up taking over a women's talk show the next year because it was supposed to be the last year of Idol. So if I threw out some accusations that he fucked my mom, that would be a big issue for it. Might hurt his image a little bit. Plus, I mean, I'm a pretty haggard looking dude, and so he did not like me at all. But I kind of did that in retaliation because he played the hardball card with me, and he said something like, "I don't think you have any rhythm at all." And I was just like, "Okay, so we're doing this?" I was like, "Listen, Twinkle Toes." Well, he was trying to fill Simon's shoes. Somebody had to be the badass, and I'm the only man with chest hair that was on the whole show. So, they had to pair us up like that. But yeah, I flew a little too close to the sun. But I watched Harry Connick Jr. personally cut me after one of my Hollywood performances. And one of the most beautiful moments of my whole life was J-Lo like shoots up in her chair and she's like defending me, saying it's kind of bullshit. And then the other producers come over. It's in the Kodak Theater. And this wasn't televised or live or anything like that.
Right.
But I just knew that I had pissed him off, and he had a lot of pull. He was like one of the main hosts. It was Keith Urban, J-Lo, and Harry Connick Jr.
Right.
So I feel like, though I'm not the most talented cat on the planet, I was bringing like some really fantastic entertainment value that could have easily been highlight reel. And I think they wanted to make it highlight reel, and it really made a divide through there. Plus, oh my God, they all hate Ryan Seacrest so much.
Oh, really?
The hate that the entire production crew, everybody involved hated him so much. And
well, good, because I'm friends with Brian Dunkelman, who kind of got screwed out of that deal that first year. Oh,
okay.
Because there were two hosts the first year. It was Brian and Ryan. That was the deal. And Ryan did everything he could to sabotage Brian. And after this first year, they brought Ryan back and not Brian. So it's always been a sore subject with me because I like Brian, and I know he got kind of got screwed out of that gig intentionally because Ryan made sure he did. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I had these.
Ryan would set them up in bumpers like they would do when they were going to commercial. Ryan would set them up so that Brian wouldn't have time to talk, or it would throw off his feed and wouldn't give him the right feed in or lead in. And it was fucked up. He sabotaged him. But then Ryan became Ryan Seacrest. That's how he became. Nobody knew who the hell he was that first year. That was his first.
He's an animal. I got buddies down here that drove limos in Miami, and they've told me stories about taking him around to strip clubs and how ratchet that dude gets. He's an animal,
Really?
An absolute fucking
No
fucking
way.
animal.
I've never heard that. It doesn't come off that way.
And straight as they come, from what everybody's telling me. Yeah. He's a guy that it was really strange too, because it was kind of a mind fuck, because they make you act so much more than you realize on the other side of the screen, because it is reality TV.
Sure,
so for example, I had gotten my golden ticket already, from my initial audition, and known that I was going to be going to Hollywood. Ryan Seacrest was protesting having to be there at a certain time. He was like 6 hours late. So when Ryan Seacrest actually got on set, we all had to go and do like this pre-audition interview that was completely falsified and like staged, like acting like we were about to go in and try for our golden ticket, when really it was in our back fucking pockets.
Yeah, right.
So it was like, luckily I was a decent actor because I love women, and that's I had to pretend to be cool all the time. That's basically the whole idea of being a rock star, right? Just pretend until it's true.
Right. Just act like you belong there, right? The whole
right.
that confidence.
Eventually, people will believe you, or they fucking won't. But
right.
they started believing me. So yeah, it was pretty wild how all of that ended up. But yeah, I definitely flew a little too close to the sun. And then, man, I did some stuff with The Voice too. You wouldn't believe. I walked in on one of these places. I started singing, and the chick damn near cut me off. And literally, the casting agent, producer lady, she was like the head of the casting agency. She goes, "You remind me too much of my ex-husband." I go, "What fucking business is this? Like, you guys asked me to come here. Like,
wait, I remind you of your ex? That's an issue now? That's great. That's
I ran into her twice. She's one of the heads of the casting companies out there. But yeah, I knew I was screwed as soon as I saw that she was in that room. I was like, God damn it.
God, I'm out.
And you probably dealt with that. You do so many auditions, like so many times, there's not really a rhyme or reason, or there's some subplot going on. You don't know why they're picking who they're picking. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you have no idea.
It's not just talent based. There's behind the table deals. There's promotion involved. There's
family. There's something. There was one director I used to read for all the time, and I loved reading for him constantly when he would go for commercials. He'd come to the commercial callbacks, and I knew I'd pretty much have the spot if he was there. But if his assistant was there, I knew I wouldn't get the spot, because there was something about the assistant that just didn't like me. They would go around the room, and she would just be like,
They poison it. It takes one negative remark, and it poisons the whole room.
That's right. We have a room full of 8 people going, yeah. One person goes, it's something about his nose. I don't like the nose. The other nose. Yeah. That other guy was good. And you're like, and you just stand there going, okay, let's wrap this up so I can go home. just turn me down so I can leave.
And see, that's tricky too, because when you're sitting over there trying to be present in the moment and kill your ego, but then you gotta have your armor on when you're in that room, just taking criticism from a bunch of fucking paper pushers,
right?
That can't do what the fuck you can do,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so frustrating.
And you gotta take it with a smile, bro. You gotta stand there with a smile and just go, all right, man. Well, thanks for your time, and you're out the door, because it's not just that gig. It's every gig down the road. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially when it comes to...
You're going to see those same people for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and when you get to the scenario callback where there's 8 people in the room, that's a callback or a final callback. The casting director is there, and they're in charge of calling you all of the time. So anytime your name... And they'll remember your name. You know what I mean? They remember the bad ones. They're the ones they don't like. So your name comes up again, they're going to go, don't call him for any... you never get a call. So you got to fucking suck it up and leave and go in your car and punch the steering wheel 19 times and then drive home. That's it.
Yeah, in Florida, it's not quite so sophisticated. It's not quite agents. It's usually just like some long-haired hippie that's like, I'm only booking reggae and they gotta be my buddies, you know, and then you can't play there, you know. And then sometimes it's just like there's these weird, like this one tiki bar hates this one tiki bar, so if I play at this one, it automatically negates this other
No
one.
way. There's
Like,
rivals between the tiki bars.
oh my God, Cocoa Beach is a war zone when it comes to that shit.
Really?
I mean, there are damn near turf wars between these business owners. You would not believe it. It's you and it is the most petty. Like some of the most hate I've ever gotten online was when I posted a wicker basket that I didn't know the price of. I posted it for sale on the local Craigslist page for like one of the river cities around here. It's called Palm Bay, Florida.
Yeah.
Boating, river city, really rural. I got hate mail for the price I put on that. Fuck you for putting $25 on that wicker basket. I could make one for $12. 30 comments. 30 comments of people going, get off this site. You don't know how to price things. People unleashed their hate on me. And I just was like, guys, I'm 29 and a dude. I don't know the fucking price of wicker baskets. I'm like, I put it at $10 now. They're like, get out of here. We should block him.
We should block him. You can't buy any
It
products.
was wild. I took some screenshots of it. I couldn't believe it. I just had people getting lit about their wicker, man. They were really upset about it.
Yeah, Wicker's serious business down there in Florida. I guess you can't piss them off.
They got conventions and shit. You would not believe it. They all get together and talk about different techniques and things. I had no idea.
Yeah, you don't belong there. You can't be in that group of people. You're just pissing them off.
Yeah, I'm adjusting though. I think getting a boat is the next move. I really want to get a boat and just, I don't know, go get stoned out in the middle of the lagoon and hang out with dolphins. I think that sounds about right these days.
How big a boat? You got to be careful, man. Everybody I know that's ever bought a boat told me it's a money suck. Every single person, except for my uncle. He can afford to have a couple boats.
I really would be fine with like one of those dinghies that are like heavy duty inflatable, like PVC with a little, because I can go out on these little lagoon areas and it's not too fast a current. It's not like open ocean or anything.
Right.
But I just honestly, I'm fine with like a boat that would cost like $2 or $3 grand. Like if I wreck it, I'm just gonna total it, sell it for parts. You know what I'm saying?
Go, whatever. Well, that was fun while it lasted. Just gonna wipe your hands.
There was the most trouble I ever got in was we grounded a sailboat the night of the New York Mets, one of their World Series games to celebrate. It was like Halloween in New York. And one of my buddies was an EMT, and we went out on a winter night. He thought it was going to be high tide.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. So we grounded in the middle of New York Harbor.
Okay.
And we had 2 helicopters. You could see all of the different, you could see the EMT and the firefighters all coming to all the ports. We were tilted on the side to where we had to have our feet down there, and we're like huddling for warmth. His power's gone out. The batteries are out on the heater. And it's so shallow where we're grounded that the Coast Guard can't even come and get us. Right. So we got to wait for 8 hours in the cold until the boat rights up a little bit. And yeah, so I remember being out there, and so I'm a little concerned that I might have some sailboat flashbacks if I get a boat. So that's why I'm thinking like a pontoon boat or something that's just fat, wonky, and slow. Right. Like nothing impressive. Definitely not a fucking sailboat.
Yeah, not a sailboat. You'll be raising a sail. You have flashbacks for sure.
Just the idea that I could go out and actually catch fish that I would then eat in the same night seems almost so novel. It seems unrealistic, but that's literally how people live out here.
Yeah.
Like I've never done that before in my life. Have you ever killed something and then eaten it yourself?
Fish when I was a kid. I used to go fishing when I was a little kid, and we used to do that, and we would make the fish for dinner. So I've done that, but
I've never even properly really done that myself.
Well, I didn't do it. My grandfather did most of it, but I caught the fish.
Right.
But then he cooked it, and then all night long I'm eating the fish I caught today. So that was the only time. There's
something mental there. I think there's some different type of connection when you're involved in that process, I think.
Yeah, I think so, man. Also, that brings us back. Well, it brings you back to a Rogan thing. He's a big hunter, and he's a big believer in the the earth providing the food and blah blah blah. You only take what you can. That Native American belief: you take from the earth what you need and give back what you don't need, and you know that type of thing. That vibe. It's all. It's
You know
all
who
being
had
a
the?
one.
I think one of my favorite guests he had that was one of the most unexpected personalities that I really liked was Ted Nugent. Ted
Oh.
Nugent's anti-vegan rant was one of the most convincing I've ever heard. Surprisingly enough,
I'm gonna have to find that.
it's pretty impressive. But I mean, he basically it made me rethink a lot of things about the natural order of things, because no matter what, death is death,
Mhm.
and it's usually uglier than not. And so I don't know. You'd have to pull it up, but I really enjoyed it, and he was kind of a breath of fresh air, and he had a spin, kind of this redneck rocker spin on some really conservative ideas that I would have never enjoyed, but I liked the way he delivered it. It's just
Yeah.
kind of a fuck you American point of view, and there's something about that that gets. It's hard not to get riled up with that
Yeah.
patriotism. You know what I
No,
mean?
it's a combination of primal and patriotism. It's this whole taking a stand thing. Yeah. He used to have a radio show I used to listen to. I wonder if he still got a podcast or something, Nugent. I don't think he does, because he was doing stuff from his house there. But he's a crazy hunter. I get people on Facebook are always taking shots at him, and they'll go, hey, he's a shitty guitar player. And I'll go, okay, let's not go there. Don't do that. If you want to make fun of his politics, that's fine. Let's not attack Terrible Ted and his music. Let's not do that. But
Yeah.
I got to look it up, man. I got to look it up for sure.
It's solid. I one other guy that you brought up, shoot, he's the archaeologist that discovered basically that there were human remains 115,000 years old. Jacobson or
Oh, is it? I know who. I think I know. This might be the guy. He had Graham Hancock on.
Graham Hancock.
Yeah, he had Hancock on with another guy, because Hancock is the guy that believes. Hancock is the guy that believes the civilization stuff, the structures that they found from like a million years longer than we think that were been around. The lost civilization. He believes in the lost civilization of people. And he was on with I can't remember who the other guy was on. The other guy who was on believes that the Earth was hit with a meteorite that in the snow caps in the Arctic that caused a great flood, and wiped out the whole northern hemisphere, and that's what wiped out that lost civilization. They got lost and started the Great Lakes. Dude, it was 4 podcasts in a row. I listened to all of them. I was mesmerized.
Yeah.
Because they both kind of went hand in hand.
It blows my mind that is not what is being talked about by everyone. That sort of earth-shaking news that humans were around that much longer than we thought.
Right.
And there's still a huge percentage of people that really think that planet Earth and human existence is only 6,000 years deep. Like, that's insane. How aren't people talking about this on a daily basis? I don't understand.
I think one of the things they were talking about. Is this the guy? Is this the one? I don't know. Randall Carlson, I think, is the guy. Yeah, Randall Carlson is the guy that believes in the meteorite that wiped out, that caused the flood, and Hancock is the guy that believes in the civilization. They go hand in hand because that meteorite melted the Arctic cap, which came down into North America, wiped out that civilization, that whole thing. Yeah, but I listen to these guys. There's a bunch of podcasts here with them, and they don't want to teach it. Their point of view is they don't want to talk about it. Mainstream archaeologists and science and historians don't want to talk about it because there's so much money invested in the other beliefs. They can't just. This would change everything so much. You know what I mean? It would change everything. To believe that there was an actual, and not just a lost civilization, it's a lost advanced civilization. You know, they're talking about people that I can't remember this structure that was built. This is really pissing me off now. I'm going to have to find it. He wrote "Fingertips of Gods" is the book that he wrote, and it's a lost. It's an advanced civilization. They found ways to move giant stone and build these creations way back years ago before there was anything. They did things that because after that came the caveman. So that's why they're like, whoa, wait a minute, because they would mean there were people, which parallels with the whole alien thing, where they go, well, there are aliens here before. And then Hancock is like, they're not aliens. It was an advanced civilization of people that were on Earth that were killed off by the Great Flood. So it's such a reversal of what we believe now that they don't want to. I don't know what to believe.
Weirdly enough, it lines up with just about every religious text that talks about a great flood.
That's what they talk about. They talk about the great.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a great flood. Everybody's got a light in the sky. Everybody's, everything revolves around this meteorite, and everybody has some sort of great flood in every religion. Noah has the ark, and there's other spiritual beliefs that believe that the waters came and washed across the earth. And I mean, the great flood or the great floods is in every religion somewhere on some level. So, I mean, don't you think there's some sort of legitimacy to it? I listen to it all the time, and I don't know what to believe yet, but it sounds logical. You know what I mean? It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
To hear that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to get 100% right answer, but you can be righter. You know what I mean? You can be righter. Right. You can be closer to the truth. And yeah, I think Rogan's been instrumental in that. But also, like, independent research. That's why it's so scary that everybody starts censoring all this stuff.
Right.
But I think that I don't know. I could go back to the idea of being in a commune. I could do that in a heartbeat, man. Just get a bunch of really entertaining people, set up some webcams, and fucking stream a really interesting, drunken, stoned existence. When I bought the land, I'll let you know.
Let me know for sure, because that's gonna be the next entertainment boom. That's the one that you were talking about. That's what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be downtown St. Louis. None of that crap. It's gonna be a field in the middle of like Ohio somewhere, or in the Appalachians. Some people that live in the mountains, and they found a way to live together. And then it's gonna be this beautiful art thing coming out of that area. And I think there's gonna be a lot of that popping up all over the country. There's going to be a lot of these because people are leaving the bigger cities, man. That's all the cities are having this exodus right now, New York and LA and Chicago. And it's a lot of it has to do with this COVID thing. People don't want to be around a lot of people because of what's been going on.
Does any of this shit got you wanting to learn how to grow tomatoes and start doing a at-home garden and stuff like that?
Dude, if I didn't have the kids, I'd be living in Mexico right now growing shit. I would be. I would find a way to live without any help. Period. No grocery stores, no government
Trapping
help.
frogs.
Dude, yeah, I'd be doing it all, man. That's exactly. I'd find my own way to get high. I'd figure it out. I'd figure it all out. Yeah, I could.
Peyotes everywhere. You can get a lot of peyote.
See, that's fine.
Too. They just grows in their backyard all over the place.
And fuck Amazon. I don't need Amazon deliveries. I want a shack with a field where I can grow my own stuff and be off the grid. I would love to be off the grid. If I didn't do what I did, I wouldn't be on the grid. You know, if I wasn't in entertainment, I would be off all of the social media stuff because it's just it's a time suck. If you don't if you're not working at it, I've seen people on Facebook for hours and TikTok. And you're like, what are you doing? Shouldn't you be out doing something? Anything? Talking to people?
It's a tricky thing to finesse because we gotta put so much on the social media altar and fucking bleed out for the fucking social media monster.
Right.
But at the same time, we know it's poison for us.
Yeah.
It's fucked, man.
And then
it's like,
you interact.
We can't take out. Yeah, it's necessary. It's a necessary evil right now. I think the trick for me is I'm really trying to finesse just being able to come in and out of those state of minds, knowing that one is reality and one isn't. Because that's something that's weirdly happening for me is that so many of my interactions are digital that, man, it's hard to tell the difference half the time. If you're going outside, you're reaching for a mask. If I'm coming in here, I'm reaching for my headphones. It's always reaching for something in order to communicate. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
All right, man. Vinny, I got to go. We got to get out of here. This was over 2 hours. This was easily the coolest one I've ever done. I should have known when I was going to have you that this was going to be awesome, man. This was fantastic. Dude,
cool.
thanks for being here, bro. Thanks, man. Thank you so much.
No doubt.
Take care of yourselves. Do you have anything you want to push? You want to plug? You want to plug the album? What do you got on, man?
I really just want people to connect with me on social media. If you just Google Vinnie Hines or search VinnieHinesMusic on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, whatever, just click follow on something. I'm pretty thorough on there. But I put a lot of random content out there. I'm starting to do some experimental shit with writing music and kind of weaving some stories into it in a more interesting and detailed way because I've realized that I lived so fast for so long, I really didn't get a chance to tell anybody what the hell happened. So now I'm in that part of my life finally going, hey, here's the last 5 blurry years of my life that were
Yeah,
fucking
right on.
crazy.
It's like Grandpa
Yeah,
telling
so
stories. I like it. That's good, dude. Right on.
right, but from a domesticated 30-year-old, with an at-home studio that does more dishes than he does probably guitar restringing. You know what I'm saying? So it's an interesting perspective right now. I'm getting older,
Dude, we're all getting older, brother. I hear you, man.
no
All right, man.
doubt.
Well, I'll share in the bio afterwards. In the bio of the video, I'll make sure all your social media info is there. So if you're watching the show, you can definitely check out Vinny and all his social media stuff. Vinny, thank you, buddy.
Awesome,
Take
man.
care.
So
Take
good
care,
to talk
brother.
to you.
All right, but yeah, good talking to you,
Bye.
man. Stay safe. All right, folks, that's Vinnie Hines. That was over 2 hours. Some of you guys stayed for the whole show. You guys are the greatest. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, man. That was very sweet, man. My buddy Vinny. I knew that was gonna be a great show. That was a lot of fun. So that's 99. It's 99 now. We wrapped it up. We're on to 100. Monday will be 100. My good friend Bill Chott will be here. Actor, improviser. I can't wait to have him on. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to try and mix it up, maybe have a new opening, all kinds of stuff. You guys are great for being here, as always. I can't thank you enough. If you enjoy the show, if you're still here, you want to support the show, bam, financially, you can do it right there. Website, LennySchmidt.com/if you can. You can go to Venmo, Lenny Schmidt Comedy, or try the Patreon page. If you really enjoy this or any of the other content I put up online, I got over 80 hours of online content you can check out that you can see. Some of it is on YouTube. If you join the Patreon page, any of these options, as little as $1, but Patreon is a monthly fee. You can pay $1, $2, anywhere from, you can pay $10,000. That's your option. If you want to pay that much money, feel free to pay $10,000. I hope the audio is good on this. I just realized my audio looks a little bit low. I hope there's not going to be an issue with the old episode. That would be a nightmare. So yeah, join the Patreon page if you can. And if you want to support the show really in any way, shape, or form without money, and you can't, and COVID got you down, just like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, do those 3 things. Those 3 things cost you nothing, but help me immensely. Please do that. Besides that, you guys have been great. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. And as always, dream of Pinky.
Lenny Schmidt Quarantine Comedy was created, produced, and is hosted by Lenny Schmidt. We live stream on YouTube at 6 p.m. Pacific every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Special episodes occasionally stream or are uploaded on Tuesday and Thursday. Every episode is also launched as a podcast and can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you enjoyed the show, please like the video. If you really like it, share the video. If you really, really like it, please subscribe to the Lenny Schmidt Comedy channel on YouTube. You'll get updates on this and numerous other online comedy content that my dad produces. Check the info section below for detailed information on all of our guests. If you are a fan, you can follow and support them as well. Go to their page, like their content, buy their albums, purchase a shirt, any merch they may be selling. Anything you do will support performers will literally help save the arts. In fact, if you want to support this show financially, just go to LennySchmidt.com/if-you-can or Venmo at Lenny Schmidt Comedy. If you donate as little as $1 or as much as $10,000, it will help pay for the stuff my dad keeps breaking. If you can't pay for the comedy content, that's okay. COVID sucks for all of us. Enjoy the free show. If you want to find a way to support what we do, just subscribe to Lenny Schmidt Comedy channel on YouTube. That really helps a lot. Thank you for listening to my dad's show, and as always, dream of Pinky.